Our members that
Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
Things at here websites.com. Buy things at here websites.com.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Coming to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern and talk about guns. And got a couple people joining us tonight. Nobody's in here right now. We have links out there to the Patreons if you want to join us tonight. Bring this over to this screen. Let's see, get rid of that. And looks like Guns Barbecue is first one out here tonight. Good evening. Foss is out there, erstwhile DTP and Patriot. So I don't know how everybody's doing tonight. Thanks for the feedback on the sound. Looks like it's doing okay. So Patriot stayed awake for the show. Good evening. Did Patriot get his 2 emails from Saturday? I don't know, but I haven't heard from either one of you guys. So I wonder if I still have that stuff on my phone or not. Let's see if I go to here and here. I think I did take it off. Go to here. Oh, here there. So let's see. No. I have a thing from communist NPR, though. Let's listen to that.
Well, if we think that there are that many lives that we saved by production of Chinese Air Force, then we are at a very bad place in terms of policy ex ante. I was in India in December, and I was amazed by the deterioration in air quality in and around Delhi in the last 3 or 4 years. Again, it's important that we recognize that horrendous air quality that firms pollute is not fundamentally an indictment of the capitalist system. It's an indictment of a government that doesn't protect people from the excesses of the capitalist system. And we really do need robust policies that stop firms from overly polluting. I think most appropriately is a straight out pollution tax. But if you can't implement that, then other Clean Air Act type policies are necessary. But if that many lives are going to be saved, then we really need to redouble our efforts as a planet to try and reduce the pollution that we cause.
So if you didn't catch that part, let's go back over here.
From the excesses of the capitalist system. And we really do need
let me get that part again.
For the last 3 or 4 years, again, it's important that we recognize that horrendous air quality that firms pollute is not fundamentally an indictment of the capitalist system. It's an indictment of a government that doesn't protect people from the excesses of the capitalist system.
It's not really that it's the capitalist system that's so bad. It's the fact that we have a government that allows us to be savaged by the capitalist system. It's horrible. All right, I don't know if that came up or not, but let's see. Question of the night, which movie contains the ninja? What ninja thing? Are you saying the ninja intro? I don't know if I know what movie that came from. All right, well, so I didn't have nothing prepared for tonight. Being the king of the internet, I don't have to really come up with a plan or whatever. People just have to listen to my show. Let's see, but I feel an obligation because everybody listens to my show. I'm going to go over and look at the calendar. It's one of the things I like to look at. And we know that today was the anniversary of the riot, but we'll look eventually. I connected to the internet? What's going on here? Why is this taking so long? Uh-oh. Did I not pay a bill? Oh, am I not online? I am not online. I don't think I'm online. It's not the Beverly Hills Ninja. Way earlier than that, I think. Yeah, I guess I'm still online. It's just that I'm having a bunch of problems with stuff loading over here. All right, so going over here, going in here, going in here. Wonder what's going on. Let's see. The clip sounds like David Spade. Really? Or were you talking about your phone? I don't know. Oh, no. Yeah, my internet's not connected on the computer here for some reason. So I guess I'm still connected, but I'm not connecting to things, if that makes sense. So figure out what's happening over here. All right. I guess that's working now. Maybe it was just something phase shift in the internet or whatever, glitch, the matrix. And we're back over here. So tomorrow is the last day of the month. It'll be Military Brats Day, the end of the Vietnam War. And should have been the Girl in a Gun annual training conference. And let's see, which one would it have been? I don't know if I know which one it would have been, like 4th or 5th, I think, though. Let's see. Are you used to... Oh, you're probably saying it. Used to really like show something movies, real ninja stuff. I'm not sure about what that is. Let's see. I guess that's all the clips. So let me go find out where it's from. It's on this other computer. It's from 1981.
Introducing a bill today to withhold pay from all U.S. senators.
Ugh. I'll wait for the stupid commercial to end.
Ninja! Ninja! Ninja!
So in 1981, Enter the Ninja. So if you haven't seen Enter the Ninja, it's pretty good. I think there was 3 of those. Like, well, I guess 81. So pretty early 80s. Show Kashigi was Enter the Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, and Pray for Death. Okay, so that's them. And there was like Jim Kata. now it's gonna feed into a whole bunch of clips from that movie. Probably all the fight scenes, the individual chunks. All right. So yeah, it was. I don't know if you ever seen that, or Enter the Ninja. I guess American Ninja. That's the other one I was thinking. There's like 3 of the American Ninjas, I think, too. Also, there's been people out there. We can have some kind of conversation. There's a link over on the Patreon. Anybody wants to jump in from that angle? Had a couple of things. I started that link hours ago, so had it open for people that wanted to jump in off air. And he's in here right now. Still no update on the hard drive. I'm waiting for that to show up before I start digging into all that stuff again. So just been working on other stuff that doesn't take a lot of computer work. Otherwise, I guess we can look over, see if anything interesting in my history over here. Watched a couple of chemistry videos. Watched an interesting video where a guy made an island out of plastic bottles. And then he just takes like bags of plastic bottles and throws them underneath the island. And then there's a bunch of mangoes and stuff growing on it. So I think it was mango trees. They grow down at their roots into the plastic bottle bags and start to like glue them together. And it's becoming an island. And then he takes the stuff that won't sink, the plastic that would sink, and he puts that on top of the island to create like ground, and then has all kinds of plants and stuff on it, a house and stuff he kind of built out of garbage. And it's just sort of this big floating island, not really a boat, so it's more like an island. It's kind of cool, down in Mexico. That video's got 1 million views. It's kind of neat. I was watching Roll Call earlier. I think he might be corking me right now. Crump had some artist guy on earlier today. I was watching that a little bit. Matt had his show. I was watching all of those videos. Watching anything interesting video about synthesizers. It was kind of neat. The first synthesizers from back in the day, where you get all the like crazy noises from the old movies and sci-fi movies and stuff. Here's this. I guess I'm going to history.
Shit.
Oh, really? I gotta screw around here. So what did I do wrong with the Patreon link? Well, if you go into the post on Patreon, that's where the link should be. No, what did I do wrong? I did do it wrong. Dang it. Let me go in there and put it right. There. Now there's a link on Patreon. That's better. And we'll see if somebody jumps in here then. And then there's that ninja link. I found the link. That's the link to Night Strike's audience for hitting shooting left or for the hit or miss show. I watched this interesting thing about modern marbles. What do they call it? Mega meals, giant meals. It's kind of interesting. Watched the thing about like website tools. That was pretty cool. I don't know if anybody watched Honda's Dragon Man tour that he posted yesterday. It was pretty good. 2 hours long. And Foss is in here. Good evening.
Good evening.
That's the link wasn't right. Sorry about that. So I just put the link right here too. It's always a good idea to just drop the link right here because that's never done. That's never been a problem. Watched an interesting video the other day about the crew of the Enterprise, the one from what's it called? Next Generation. How there's 1,000 people on that boat or ship or whatever, and that's like nothing. It's the thing can hold like 30,000 people or something. Only 1,000 people on it. So it's like having a city fly around in space, basically, or an aircraft. It's bigger than an aircraft carrier, so it's like having a little island floating around in space. I'm just going through my history because nobody's saying nothing, and nobody's chatting out there, so not have dead air. Putting something up here. Watched the interesting thing about alphabets. Except there's more than just alphabets. There's like all these different ways of writing, and there was a pretty cool video that talked more about that. I learned more from that video than I've ever learned about the different. They're not alphabets. The different language systems, I guess, writing systems around the world. Kind of cool. Broke it all down. Why Korea looks like Korean and why Chinese looks like Chinese and how they work. Yeah, nothing in here is but guns, though. Haven't watched any gun videos, I guess, in a while. Actually, there ain't one gun thing, except for Honda's video of the tour. Watched a couple of the Plate Society podcasts. I just added that second link, so yeah, you can jump in on that second link, or else I just threw it in here. Plate Society podcast has been doing a series on Guns 101. They've been cramming them all into one podcast. Let's see. No, they're still doing that. They're now up to 78 videos in that podcast.
It's kind of nice. There's been, a lot of people doing.
Oh, we had 5 billion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better than not, but just to shit on that or to provide devil's advocacy or whatever. But when it's haphazard and it's just sort of random or just sort of there, you know what I mean? That's I don't know. It's not easy for somebody to pick up. It's easy for us to know what's the word, like what's basic knowledge and to say it, but that's not the same as like I don't know, like trying to think of like the NRA basic classes. People sat down and thought about it of how to bring somebody who's not familiar with guns into it. So anyway,
That's true. There's
it's like a channel that says like "Welcome to Guns" is, I guess, that would be the difference. Like having a channel that's established and honestly super boring. Like their shows are super boring. Now they're podcasts, so if somebody's listening to it in a podcast situation, that's totally different. But if you're watching it, super boring. So I'd suggest doing something like a channel that's called "So You Just Bought a Gun" or "Welcome to Guns," and then I don't know, do something to brand that to the new person. But even then, new gun owner, okay, great. A single mom new gun owner is different than, I don't know, kid going to college new gun owner is different than a old person new gun owner, right? Different than a city new gun owner, different than a country new gun owner. Some people they go to your gun shop. Other people don't have a gun shop.
Yeah, I was surprised. There's a older lady that I took to the range to go shooting for the first time, and she didn't know the difference between a semi-automatic and a revolver. And it's something that even if you've just watched movies with guns, that you think most people know.
But but you don't know the difference. It's like the pickup truck and a van. If you didn't know, if you're just new to the language or something, and you're like, "Oh, I need a vehicle. I need a ride on a vehicle." You don't know there is a difference between a van and a truck or a convertible and a motorcycle. But just
Yeah.
you're just gonna say vehicle until you get the finesse or whatever. So yeah, people that aren't gun people, what do they care? It's all a handgun, I guess.
Yeah, I'll have my wife, when I do a video, watch the video, just to make sure I didn't miss a mistake or something. And she'll have to remind me sometimes that there's stuff that I don't think about, that somebody who doesn't know isn't going to know that little fact, or what that little thing is.
And I'm not shitting on them because I want to shit on anybody's effort as much as just as like, at least in my experience from 2013, sort of everyone having to be pushed into advocacy, or at least advocacy was pushed in our faces because it happened, right? We didn't ask for it. We just all became activists accidentally, got a necessity for a minute. And then the result of that was a whole bunch of people that were aware and trying to build their channels to offer information or to be useful. They started piling out all kinds of videos. So if you look in 2013, if there was a way to filter, you probably could filter it on YouTube potentially. But if there was a way to go somebody's channel who's been around since 13 and filter their videos to look at just the videos from 13, middle and end of 13, you're going to find a whole slew of Welcome to Guns or Guns 101 or Basics of Guns. And people that were doing weekly series or podcasts like this are going to focus on Welcome to Guns because it's an appropriate time to do so. And then you go a couple of years and then you get everybody scared that Hillary's going to win. And that's years later. So it's not the same group of people who are like scared and start to buy guns. So there's different people creating content, and they have the same good intentions. So they create a whole bunch of videos called Welcome to Guns or Guns 101. Or maybe, that person who was around since 13 or even before says, I did this during 13, but I didn't do it right, or I wanted to do it better, or I feel like I should do it again, because the nature of this stuff isn't that people go back and look at my old playlists. Instead, they just sit there waiting for the feed to bring them new stuff. So I kind of have to do another series of Welcome to Guns or whatever, which again, that might have worked well. And if somebody like Hickok or somebody, I'm sure if they did a Welcome to Guns, it brought a bunch of people into guns. So I'm not shitting on it. I'm just shitting on the idea that then now it's so many years later, everybody has to do that again because of the nature of this whole thing. People aren't, if you're new to guns, you're not going to jump on YouTube and then decide, now I'm going to search YouTube. No, you're just going to wait for all these things to come flying past you, right? But that's where I think we're flying kites and hoping people are looking up, but it's not our only way of doing it. So, like I said, we got NSSF out there trying to do something about kids safe and scolding new gun owners about how they have to be careful. But I'd rather see, I don't know, just these efforts get put somewhere separate, perhaps, so that if it's a separate channel or if it's off of the platforms, or just maybe a new entity. We've got Kids Safe, and we've got a couple other newer ones that are kind of focused on awareness and safety and stuff, to kind of take over the role of Eddie Eagle, or Eddie Eagle even, shit. But have one of those things exist so that all new people, all people that are creating content can say to the new people, hey, welcome to Guns, here's a resource. Hey, welcome to Guns, here's a resource. And then hell, maybe there's a whole community that could just be new gun owners or something, where no new gun owner wants to talk to me. I'm old and crotchety and I don't give a shit about guns that much anymore. I just care about rights. So why would a new gun owner want to talk to me? I'm not going to be able to tell them nothing, but there might be a whole bunch of intermediate gun owners that are perfect to talk to them. So it'd be cool if we had something set up where those new gun owners don't just get shuffled into the mix and expected to keep up, because that's unrealistic, right? Nobody's going to become like I'm really into this hobby. This is the best hobby ever. I can't wait to start digging around and trying to figure shit out. I guess I'm ranting.
No, that's a good rant.
But anyway, so yeah, I've been watching some of those, and they're not bad info or nothing, and it's always evolving info. So it's not like the stuff from 13 is done. Like, okay, you made Welcome to Gun videos, because in 13, who knows what the hell somebody was thinking, or probably trying to sell, or just what was going through their head in 13, and it might not be appropriate at all in 20. Plus, if they were focusing on, I don't know, fathers or people coming out of the military or left-handed shooters or sports shooters, they're missing a bunch of people maybe. That's, I guess I'm saying, DTP saying that people aren't going to go back and look at old videos. Exactly. And the YouTube ain't going to send you old stuff. I finally got YouTube to send me old stuff by, constantly screwing with it. It's can't really show me anything new because I won't let it show me channels anymore that it tries to feed me. So it just shows me old videos from channels that I haven't told it to block. So now I'm seeing stuff from 5 years ago, which is kind of neat seeing, channels that are strong doing a lot of stuff. They put a lot of content out there, and I'm the same way. I'm not going to just dig in and start looking at some of these old stuff, but since YouTube knows kind of what I like to see, it is still efforting to find stuff that's, I'm willing to let it show me that's still on topic or whatever. So it's doing a pretty decent job. All right. Well, anybody have other topics to talk about? I gotta go get something to drink. You three are the two are the quietest co-hosts ever. Bacon, you're in here. Guns and barbecues in here.
Yep. I'm gonna say I was gonna ask you what your thoughts were on the New York ruling from the Supreme Court.
I don't know the details. What's the gist of it?
They didn't take up the case, but then from what I understand,
About which one is it?
it's the one where
New York.
yeah, they couldn't take guns out of the city or something, and so then once it was looking like it was going to go to the Supreme Court, they rescinded the law to try and keep the Supreme Court from taking it up, which apparently was successful.
I guess it accomplishes the same thing, right? Isn't that what we want as precedent? So if
It does. The most people who wanted it heard are just afraid that New York can reestablish that law at any time, and then you have to go through the whole process again. But I kind of understood not hearing the case because they removed the law, so the law isn't there anymore. But there's like 10 or 12 other 2A related cases that they're gonna decide, I think, Friday on if they're gonna hear or not. So maybe some of those will cover the New York law if they decide to rule on those ones.
well, that's lame. Is this the? I'm assuming these are ones that have been setting for a while, or are these just like immediate ones that have to do with the way the states are handling Corona business?
I'm not sure what each of them are. I just heard that there were,
I mean,
about
if
a
these are the
dozen.
ones that have been kind of cooking, like some of the trigger stuff and some of the you can't tell us when or how kind of stuff, I don't know if I'd want to see all that stuff happen in the middle of all this. I mean, I'd like to think it'd be fine to happen in the middle of all this, like our court would handle it normally and in stride and then be appropriate. But if they're going to be weird like the Congress is being, I don't want them to be like, in an altered situation or circumstance, I guess, and then decide on something that's going to be permanent. I guess I don't know. Do we know how effective they are? Or I guess if they say that they're going to take the case, it's not like they're taking it tomorrow. So I guess it just means it's going to be go on to the next level and start the process at that level.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't think that if they say they're going to take on the case, they're going to give a definitive ruling that same day or anything.
Well, then, yeah, I mean, obviously we want stuff to get up there, I guess. I think this is a good group of judges, but I don't know if it's ideal or whatever. I don't know if we need to wait for everything to be ideal always. I guess Patriot saying he won Artisan Tony's giveaway for the Corona craft kit, a bunch of leather and a needle for making holster or something. I hope that needle is one of them things with a piece of wood on it and a little pulley and everything. That's what I use for leather, because a regular needle would take forever. You need a hammer. It was pretty cool. I guess I heard today that Arizona is now kicking it out another 2 weeks. Anybody else done? Anybody done? We were supposed to be done tomorrow.
Yeah, Washington, the governor announced today that they're going to open up like some outdoor recreation stuff, but still push back the opening up everything. But he didn't know. He's supposed to come out in the next couple days and then talk about it more.
Here in Pennsylvania, we're supposed to be opening up on the 8th still.
I definitely like to see Pennsylvania. You know, a lot of people there. Plus, that's far enough east that it'd be good to see something. Not just all the western states doing it or whatever, or the southern states doing it. Anyways, I didn't know Tony was doing some sort of a giveaway thing. Let's see. So no, I don't watch the things about them digging those holes anymore. Since you're seeing the underground jungle houses and stuff, those things are pretty neat. But I don't know what the deal is. Somebody's making some money on those things. But yeah, it's only so interesting. They don't do anything good with them, and they don't really show what they do with them. I'm assuming they just leave them and they fill in. There's a big crater there. They don't show what happens, and then it turns out that every time they make one of them holes, it just turns into a big pit. A bunch of animals die in there the next year. That would suck. But no, I've been watching a lot of old computer type videos now. It's kind of like documentaries, interviews with people who were involved with different aspects of the evolution of tech, beginnings of the internet and whatnot.
It's kind of neat to go back and see where it started and then where you're at now.
Well, for sure. I like to see the evolution. There's hopefully parallels or something to be gleaned from being aware of like the trials and tribulations, because a lot of what I think we are dealing with now is societal adjustment to tech, to the evolution of the technical communication, right? And there was similar things with the adjustment of telephones going from the built onto the wall and you picked it up and just said stuff to a human being on the other end, till all the different versions of the mechanical switches. And then those mechanical switches evolved into integrated circuits and transformers and stuff and electronics. And that was all kind of parallel and other things. But as a society, we went from what in the 50s, it was there was finally like you could make a long distance call or whatever, but it was like $25 an hour. So by the time I was around, you could make a long distance call to your family, and it was not, you didn't have to be a rich person to do that. Think about that. Like that's something that's in my lifetime. We could talk to our own families and not have to be royalty or on some mission or something. So it's just interesting to see how the a telephone kind of evolved from like that, where you had the phone on the wall, and then you could finally unplug the phone, and that's the parts I remember is when I can still remember phones. I don't know how old you guys are, how where phones were connected to the wall though, and if you wanted to move your phone, like you basically had to call the phone company because it wasn't yours. And then it was like a big deal to have a phone on a cord that you could move like to a couch, near a couch or over on a table or something, instead of having to get up and go to the wall. Like that was kind of a big deal for a while. And then I can remember when phones weren't actually physically hardwired to the wall. Again, that was like a big step when you could unplug your phone. That means you could go to like a Radio Shack and buy a phone, put your own thing, your own looking phone or your own ringing phone or whatever. And then, all of that stuff changed not just how we interface with our electronics, but how we talk to each other. Like you're not going to pull something past a bunch of people when they can call each other inexpensively and figure stuff out. And you'd see things like Mothers Against Drunk Driving and other campaigns throughout the time that probably wouldn't have been available. Look at things like the October Revolt in 1977. How could Neil Knox have done that without a machine that allowed him to call people? And how could he have done that without tech getting cheap enough that that was a thing? So anyway, I think that's interesting because now what we're dealing with is a situation where we've got a lot of people online. Half of them built the damn infrastructure and don't use it or aren't savvy, or if they are, they don't share that savvy with everyone. It's not possible for them to share that savvy. But they're not keeping up with what's happening online. And then you get the kids that feel like name a kid that doesn't feel like they're an expert at everything they do. So they must feel like they own the internet when really they're probably the most manipulated online as anybody because they don't know what it's like to not be online. They don't understand the nuts and bolts potentially of what they're dealing with online. I'm sure majority of people. So anyway, they just think that's interesting. So the same way we went from telephones, we had TV and cable, and think of the changes when we could decide what we want to watch on TV and cable and how that affected society. Like, I think that's something that's worth taking a look at. So that's what I'm kind of watching these shows and I've seen all these things before. The development of television or telephones or television, that's another one. VHS and stuff, that's an interesting one. When we could start to record our own shows. I think we were talking about that last night, right? You're able to have your own destiny and when you're going to live your life and when you're not going to be stuck to watching a TV show on a particular night. If you want to watch that TV show and you want to go bowling, all of a sudden you could do both. And anyway, so I think that stuff is hopefully applicable to what we're doing now. Maybe we'll find something that worked in the old days to get us past some hurdle to apply now. Because I think that's what we're dealing with is all this panic is just society's inability to deal with the amount of information we've got pumped at us and available to us. Armaments out there. There's Aussies out there. Yeah, exactly. And that didn't even last that long. It seemed like it was a way of life for a while there, having to deal with long distance. And now, I didn't even think about it. For a minute there, it was even, it was like a clever way to get around it. And now I don't think, probably the kids that are voting, when's the last time you had to worry about long distance? Probably not since 2000, right? I don't think anybody thinks about how far away anybody is when they talk to them anymore. It certainly doesn't cost you anything more. If the only thing only costs you more to be online constantly, like unlimited data or something.
And now I just, I can text my friend in Omaha, Nebraska. You don't have to call, don't have to email even.
Well, now you can do FaceTime and look at each other while you talk and be all the way across the country even.
Of course, and this kind of thing where you've got multiple people in there. But again, that's why I'm saying this is where, we just need to have this. And it seems like we have to do this as a world at this point because the whole world basically had the same phenomenon, right? Happened to them at different levels. So that was a bunch of information that went around and a bunch of concern. And then, like I say, we'll see how we get stronger or better or smarter at the end of it all. All right, well, so I got another project that we'll be starting here. I was going to start a little bit today. We'll see how it works out with everybody, but we'll be attempting to do sort of a two-phase thing like I've been talking about doing, where we do a shorter look at the events of the day earlier in the day, like during the daytime, and then just reflect on it here at night with this show. So looks like we're getting closer to seeing that as a reality. A couple weeks off. Yeah, you guys are making me come up with shit. So Armament's just out there talking about when he was a kid and using the phones and stuff. But to know that well, the whole like working with the phones and stuff, what or playing with phones and stuff was sort of a thing that people just found out about and then figured out. I guess they kind of got together and figured it out. Some guy wrote an article about it, then Steve Jobs read the article, and that's when Woz and Jobs started making little phone boxes, and that's what got him started with Apple. And then, in fact, selling those little phone boxes is what got him the money to buy the first circuit boards, have the first circuit boards made. It's kind of neat that the whole like phone evolution and the community that was set up around the phone tech turned into well, obviously Apple, a big piece of personal computers. We'll never know the joy of multiple floppies, but I mean, what about I've got 2 terabytes of dead drive over here that I have to at some point run some kind of scan on, and took 10 hours. I had a two terabyte drive that was full, and I had a 2 terabyte drive that was like a third full, maybe probably a quarter full. The quarter full one is the one that has all the new info on it, and then I'm pissed about because that's got like the 3 books and everything. And I did a scan on that. That was 10 hours. Then that's going to take some amount of time to pull all the actual data off of it once I have a place to put it. Ideally, that's a third of or a quarter of a terabyte, 2 terabytes. So the other one is 2 terabytes. I don't even know what to do with that. I have a 2 terabyte drive that's corrupt. I have to run the software on it. Who knows how long it's going to take to run on full 2 terabytes? And then I got to stick it somewhere. I've got to claim those files and shove them onto some other drive, right? So they might not know what it's like to have a couple of floppies to get a really crude, but result from those floppies. But they have their own piles of whatever junk to deal with. We'll eventually get to some kind of holographic crystal, and then we'll drop those things and shatter them and be like, dang it, I just dropped my holographic crystal.
So, talking about technology and firearms and whatnot, do you think we could see a time where there's something like virtual trainings going on where the trainer is broadcast live, say at a firearms range on a given day, and people pay to come and train there with that firearms trainer, say on like a projector screen?
I don't think so. Maybe for orientation or familiarization or something, or really just about that, maybe, and education, but not. I don't think you can do that. I think that's like saying, can you learn basketball that way or ice skating that way? You can go through the motions and you can feel good about yourself by watching somebody do it and then do it or mimic it. But that's all you're doing. You're not learning anything, and you're not, there's no interaction or interface with your actual situation. So again, I think you can supplement or something, or give a overview or something like that, but I question people that would say you can do much more than reinforce some classroom stuff or maybe introduce fundamentals or something. And there's probably some things you can do with like graphics, using some visual effects and stuff that to augment stuff, it's tough to conceptualize or stuff that's tough to figure out in a real life setting. But I think it's more of a physical activity. Like, it's not like digging a hole. Dig a hole, however you dig the hole, that's all that matters. I guess to some people, that's all that matters. But it's more of a, like I say, like a archery or I don't know, like that, making that pottery or something. You got to have a Swayze bite in you. You have to have somebody biting in you right up on your behind you.
I could see, for like the book learning part. But like I used to teach karate, and when you watch if you watch a karate tape, you can kind of see what you're supposed to be doing, but there's movements and why you're doing some stuff that you need to be there to show them, how to move through this, or, your feet have to be here because of this or that. And I don't think you could do that remotely.
No, that's like saying having two people watch a dance in a movie or some kind of a dance routine, and then it's assumed that they can just get together on a dance floor and perform that. It'd be awkward and clumsy, and I mean, you've got to do things. So,
Well, with what I was kind of thinking was you have, say, a couple range officers on site, but basically whoever is the virtual instructor will say, they have him because he or she is, the person with the infinite wisdom. And then say the range instructors that are there at said range, they're got a good concept of what that person that's being broadcast to everybody is doing.
no, I don't think so. I mean,
Don't
like I
know.
say, I don't think so. Not for, like you. It's not like if it was baking or something, then like, or if it was math, and the work that you do or whatever on the paper, it might have sloppy handwriting or something, but there's too much physical interaction with it. And when you go to at least my experience with classes is that you're not learning some kind of wizardry or anything. I mean, there is some definite mindset differences between instructors, and there's philosophical differences and just different ways that they they perceive the interaction between a human being and a firearm, which is great. Somebody coming from SEALs, somebody coming from police, somebody coming from competition, they're all coming with different angles on it. But aside from their whatever, like, things that they got to teach you as far as the shooting aspect of it, it's all just the basics. It's all just safety and awareness, and that's something that a coach has to be there to see. So if it was just your score or if it was just your stance, then that would be one thing. But like I say, if it was baking or something, it was just like the results. If your cake looked good at the end, then fine. But it's more about, you go to an instructor to learn how to shoot, and that's going to involve way more. So an instructor is going to absorb, just understand the person's awareness and level of competence, all those subtle things that you get from actually being there with a student. I just don't. I mean, I guess it's possible in a way, in a form, yes, but as a replacement or equivalent, nah. It's always going to require. I think it's going to require a human, being there to basically coach. Like I said, I've never been to a class where there's just one person and tells everybody do this task, and everybody does the task, and that's it. It's a instructor, and it's usually a couple of assistant instructors, and they're all eyeballing everybody all the time, and it's all coaching moments, and you're doing tasks as a catalyst for those teaching moments. And half of it, more than half, I'd say a good 80% of what you as a student experience and absorb from a class is what other students are doing. So that's again something that it would be limited if everyone's just got their port, their webcam and their slot. It would be like going to a range or going to a class at some sort of an indoor range where there was the partitions in between each bay, and you'd hear the instructor all together, but no student would ever see what the other students are doing, and that would be a limited class as well. So I think that's something that, right, that classes are going to offer that online is only going to emulate. But I really don't think there's going to be too many instructors that are going to be willing to put their name or their signature on us, of course, the completion of somebody who they haven't actually watched. If it's something like a CCW class, that's one thing. But if it's like you're trying to learn my tactics, skills, smite my whatever it is we're trying to accomplish here, how would the instructor really know that they've hit it all? So to put real life examples, Costa is all about when he did like a carving class. He's all about you got 3 seconds to take a shot. Let's say some situation, you got 3 seconds to take a shot. Take fifth of a second getting into position, so you got 2 seconds plus to take your shot, as opposed to taking 2.5 seconds to fart around getting into place. So now you got to rush your shot. So that's his, concept in a nutshell. And how do you can say that to somebody and they can go home and say, I know what Costa says, but going there and understand what it's like to drop down and get ready to shoot and then shoot, take your time and shoot with somebody who knows how to take people from not being aware of that concept or maybe just being aware of it to actually implementing it, and then doing it enough times that they can then successfully practice that and do that in a way that actually leads to their success and not just placebo or some sort of like, here, sure, yeah, you can, the concept now, and I'm going to give you your certificate, and who cares if you actually succeed in doing this ever. That's one angle. Then you go to Mike Pannone, right? He's all about articulature and skeletal lockup, and the way that your stance is affected by, if you're fighting your stance, in other words, you want to understand the firearm that you're using and shoot it and not fight it. And that's something, again, that's different. It's a different philosophy of shooting. That's why you go to different instructors to learn different concepts. And few of them are just going to say, you've heard my concept, now walk away with your diploma. I can think of a couple that are like that, but very few are like that. At least not the real ones that are got a reputation or whatever.
Well, then with the one thing you said there, they have a couple guys there helping them throughout the trainings and whatnot. So what if somebody said, hey, people are going to come to me to get their training and whatnot, but I want to reach a bigger audience. So they have people that come to them, get certified, and they say, all right, I trust you to evaluate these people at X location when I'm doing a virtual class. So basically, it'd be like the same guys, saying they're at the class with him, but instead of him being present with them, he's being broadcast on a screen somewhere, and then he's got people that have been to his training and he trusts and says, hey, you can evaluate these people in person for me while I give the overall instruction.
Sure. So there are probably a couple like that I can actually think of that are similar to that already. And that's more of, I don't know what to call that, but that's definitely a thing. Most instructors, again, that are been doing it for a while have reputations and that are not teaching like the my name style of instruction, but instead the such and such theory or the, whatever this developed style of instruction or something. Then they'll have instructor development curriculum. Like they'll have classes periodically, especially towards the end of their career, But whenever they get real popular and stuff, they'll have adjunct instructors that are more than that, that are whatever you want to call, like you're saying, well, even more than that, actually. They're like credited, what's the word, like accredited or whatever, to offer a degree or a certificate in the class. So you can get such and such training from the person or from one of their instructors. And that's where, again, you've got the same concept, what you're talking about, but those people don't then need to be involved anymore. Like you say, they've got confidence in their instructors and they've set them out with a course of instruction. And those instructors do all the things I just talked about, are still the ones there doing all of that evaluation and coaching for all the same reasons. So I'm not aware. There are, I guess, you could almost say kind of front sight is like that, because the dude who's main dude at front sight is like never actually at front sight, and he's the one who's in most of the videos. That's more like it's not a live stream like you're talking about, like a remote training type of thing or a way to facilitate training, in other states, as much as like if I make one video, then it's consistent and I don't have to make a video every week. Plus, if anybody ever needs to take something to court or something, we've got the one video that we did. There's all kinds of like legal reasons to have a video that you can bring into court, and a video is consistent, so you have consistent training over time or whatever. But most instructors don't just videotape everything; they'll just teach them the same course of instruction every time, so then they can take that course of instruction into court if they need to. But anyway, yeah, I haven't seen one where they just say like, I'm the head instructor, so I'm the one who's going to be instructing, but all my adjuncts will be there in person and some sort of like a multi-location remote, or like I'm not going to travel, but instead I'll, show up remotely. So in those situations, the instructor would just travel and just be at the other state where the class would be handling and being taken care of.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, since we were just talking about how technology has changed things, I just wasn't sure if that's something that we could possibly see in the future.
I don't know. I'm just talking shit because I don't know. Because you're right. If, let's say, going forward, a bunch of these new firearms owners are like, wow, this is pretty cool. There's nothing to fear. A bunch of people just bought guns. I was in line with a bunch of them, and we weren't violent. And these laws are stupid. And everybody gets together, and we get rid of a bunch of these laws, and there's even more gun owners. Then it might have to be something like that because there won't be enough instructors. So yeah, I could totally see that. And people are certainly more and more comfortable with it. Nobody would be uncomfortable with it. I think it would be more of instructors being comfortable with the level of awareness or something. But who knows? Maybe, I don't know. And then there's an angle where I didn't get to really get into that before, but there's instructors that are okay with cameras, and then there's instructors that really don't like cameras. The idea would be that, let's say you were, I don't know sports, but let's say you played football. Let's say that they filmed a football move or play or whatever it's called, and you ran to the left and then to the right. And then for some reason you won. And you went, oh, if I move to the left and then the right, I win. Well, that would be dumb to think if you always move to the left and right, you'd win. But there's something about that. Like if you watch yourself do a thing, you think that that's a successful thing. So there's instructors I know that will never video, and when it comes up, they'll take a moment to say it better than I just did. Why they won't video, because they don't want people to ingrain anything bad. They want your input to come from others who are aware and experienced and give you feedback, as opposed to you trying to interpret your own actions and that kind of thing. So there might be something there where people are like, I don't know, or maybe I'm just living in the olden days, and maybe people will become less and less aware, interested, worried about that kind of stuff.
Well, one of the other things I was thinking about is, I'm sure a lot of these instructors that have gotten really big and successful, they have a way of talking to people and getting them involved and interested. And these, let's say the accredited individuals that could be overseeing or teaching other classes, they might not have that magnetic personality or whatever draws people in. Like years ago when I started listening to Yankee, and that led me, like I said for into listening to you and Matt and whatnot. When I first started hearing you talk about Second Amendment issues and how passionate you would get sometimes, it really caught my attention. And so I guess with that, I'm making the comparison that while some of these accredited persons, they might be able to go and teach the class just as well. They might not be able to keep a class going long term because people just don't like their personality or find them dry, and eventually it dries up, as opposed to if you got somebody that can really command the room, or in this case just a large audience. Because if you think about it, if they're doing a virtual class and they've got these accredited people supervising that class, then they could do hundreds of people in a single weekend.
Yeah, okay, so there's a lot of things to chat about there. So then, doing some sort of like a mass, I guess for awareness or something, sure. But the people, when I say accredited, I'm thinking like the individuals that have, when firearms its training first happened, it was people that came out of military law enforcement and competition, or usually at least two of, or if not three of those, right? They were doing competition and mostly. And then it was we're in competition. This guy's really good. I want to emulate that. Or can you show me how to do that? Or can we get together next weekend when we're not shooting a match? And can you show me that? And then so-and-so is showing them the so-and-so's method. And then I'm trying to teach these guys that I learned in California. And there was these people that figured out, okay, there's value here in the knowledge. So I'm going to turn this into a curriculum, or I'm going to turn this into a school or something. So you had, the original or the starts of the firearms instructors who weren't just, I guess, I don't know what you'd call, maybe like a NRA instructor or a military, drill instructor or something. Like there's instructors obviously, but when they first started to put on a hat of a civilian firearms instructor, like I have knowledge and I'm going to offer that knowledge in a curriculum, gun sight and things like that. You have gun sight, which starts in like a permanent location, and then you have a couple of instructors that kind of do the same thing, offer a course of instruction or curriculum, but then are traveling and they go to places. Like I say, it all kind of just happened, from what I understand, organically, or it just happened, it evolved. So it wasn't like there was a way to do it or anybody was doing it to be different than the way. It just sort of happened in a couple of different ways. Those people that started that are like Farnham and Cooper and Masada Ayub. Like these are people who are still around. Hackathorn and Thunder Ranch, right? These people started these things, and when you say that if they're not interesting or whatever, like that just hasn't happened. Like there's the people that are doing it and have been doing it are awesome. Like part of the experience is that they're awesome and entertaining and cool people, like good, solid people, cops for a long time and not burnt out, but love life and enjoy people and are happy to share information. They know they're teaching good guys how to save lives and stuff. I mean, it's really positive. So it's an experience to knowledge, experience to skill set, but it's like a refreshing experience just to go to some of these classes. So that part of it, Masada Ayub and others will do just lectures because not everybody can get to and it's not appropriate for everyone to assume they can get a firearms class in a couple hours, but it is appropriate to hear a bunch of stuff in a few hours. So you can get the education, the classroom side of it in a format like what you're talking about. But again, everything I'm talking about from like the accredited guys are the people that would just for their own, for their own respect for their own position, they wouldn't sign somebody off if they haven't witnessed it, unless they have a person who they've said, because I can't be everywhere, I'm deeming you like a trainer of mine. And if you look, through your eyes, they've passed the course, then they're they got a certificate. But not, like I said, not the need to be like everyone has to be ready to listen to this guy lead the instruction or anything. Now,
Yeah.
and then you see there's things like I don't want to be a dick, but there's like people that'll stand there and go, let's look at circumstance, like let's look at something that happened, let's look at something that happened, and that's similar, I think. Then like here's an exercise, or here's a drill or something, like here's something to do that's going to make you better. So we're all going to do it together. There's very few of those. Most of the time it's like, or shoot at that target and then let's see how you draw, or let's shoot at that target and see what that problem is you're having with aiming, or shoot at that target. But very few instructors are like, shoot at that target this way, or shoot at that target until you can do it right. Like they're mostly like, well, do what you would normally do and let's take a look at that. There are very few of them that are like, let's all get up and now let's all do this, and then let's all take a look, and then let's all be done. We're all finished now. Like they're just not that sort of. I'm trying to think like an exercise class or something, or like a yoga, where you would start it and 45 minutes later it's over. I'm trying to think of like a cut and dry type of experience where an instructor is going to walk away. If it was just like let's do some drills and I'm going to be the lead instructor and we're going to talk about drills and you're not walking away with anything other than the experience, that I could see happening, I guess. Having like a Larry Vickers get up there and talk about like a certain exercise he does or some sort of a thing he does to get better at IDPA. I don't know if I'm answering that one. You guys are all out here talking about martial arts, I guess. So I don't know if that answered what you were saying. Woods is saying, is there a virtual gun class a thing now? I don't know if that's what you're kind of talking about, or if you were talking more like just, like I said, it would be a class.
Yeah, it was just like I said, just wondering what your thoughts were, if that's something that we could end up seeing in the future. And you made a lot of good. What's that?
I'm sure you'll see something like that at like the USCCA level or like the NRA training level, or something that's like a big national level thing that wants to participate in something, and they'll get somebody on board that'll do like some sort of a, if you join 6 of our classes each year, then you're in the trained club or something, or you're in the online training club or something.
Yeah, kind of as you're talking and the more I thought about it, I think there is potential there. I just don't know how it'll work out just yet.
I guess if you could do something where, let's say somebody's old, or there's some issue with people getting in touch with each other, or it's difficult to travel, or something happens and something breaks down, and it's just we need to rely on telecommunication and stuff. Well, then how hard would it be to have 3 cameras, 3 phones connected to one chat, and it doesn't matter how many students there are. If you got like 3 cameras, if you had 3 instructors walking around with a webcam on their head, and then one guy could be sitting here watching 3 or 4 cameras, that's basically probably even more awareness than they'd have if they were actually there. So I guess that kind of thing might happen. And as we see people get older, and as we see more and more people get interested, it could easily evolve into that. I'm just going off of what my experience is, which is already 10 years old plus.
And I think one of the other issues is the type of trainings that I'm used to. I haven't gotten to go to any big name trainers like that. It's just a local shop that does trainings throughout the year, stuff like that. And when I worked corrections, just the qualifying that we had to do each year for our firearms certifications. So the training I'm used to is a lot of classroom stuff. Then we all go out to the range and we're all lined up and everything, doing our thing. Then the instructor will come along and say, hey, might want to try this or that. And if somebody's doing something glaringly, I don't want to say wrong, but in a, I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but anyways, they might point them out and say, hey, you know, this is what this person's doing. This is why we don't want to do this or that. Likewise, they might pick out somebody that's doing exceptionally well and say, oh, this is, you know, good because of this. But so I guess, like I said, that's where one of the disconnects was between us, because while you were talking there, I realized that your trainings that you've been to sound like they're more one-on-one, even though it's in a group.
Yeah, so that's actually a couple interesting things there. I played some notes this time so I wouldn't lose them. But it's not so much that they're one-on-one. Like most of the time, like a Masada class will have maybe 30, even 40 people in it. It's just that, you know, he's competent, and when you're on the line, it's more like 10 people at a time, right? Everybody else is reloading or farting around, which is neat because then you get the opportunity to chat with people as a student, but as an instructor, he's got definitely hands-on. He's able to watch everybody as a coach. And just like any kind of sports coach, I mean, Masada is a expert witness and he's a cop and everything, but he's also a competition shooter at like the, you know, high level. So he's good at being a coach, like a sports type of coach would be. So I never know. I got a couple of things. One, you know, I don't like to just piss people off, and I got opinions. But two, I get paid by the people that are listening. I don't get paid by anybody. I mean, I'm friends with a couple of instructors, but they certainly don't pay me or anything. So I'm not getting paid by instructors. And I have an interest in making sure that everybody learns something, because most of the time you're only going to hear stuff from people that don't know shit or are getting paid to tell you something, maybe met somebody so they got some interest in saying that their shit is great, even though they've never experienced nothing else. But, you know, most people aren't coming from weak experience and they don't care, where I do care. I want y'all to understand it's way more fun going and hanging out with Masada Yub or Jaeger or somebody than it is to go to some of the stuff that I'm thinking of that's lame. So one, I want to offer good insight, but two, I end up pissing people off because I disregard shit that a lot of people have done, and I don't want, you know, it's not my goal. I don't know what everybody's done, but I have gone to a shit ton of local CCW classes. I really value them. I like them, but they're not good. They're not always good. I should put it that way. Sometimes they're really bad. My first CCW class was very bad. It was like, you know, the kind of stuff that is cringeworthy bad to some people. I you know, some people would say it's the best. Anyway, so there's a gambit, right? A range. So when we're talking local stuff, that's one thing. Now, when we're talking cop training, that's a whole nother thing. So you figure a cop or anybody who's in any kind of, what is that called, post or security type of training. Security guards are basically the same way. Prison guards, all those people. Number one, they're probably not gun people, right? We know that. Like, they're not afraid of guns, probably. That's why they took the job, but they're not necessarily gun people. But they're about to get some kind of gun training in their cop training or their security guard training or whatever it is. And that training is going to be like 1,000 times or at least 100% more training than everybody else they know in the world, except for the rest of us, the gun people, right? Gun people are standing up here. We're 20% of the world. We know what's going on. All the cops and security guards, they think that they know everything about guns because they're about to get gun training from cops. They think that's the pinnacle. They're done. They're cops. They're allowed to hold guns legally and they carry them all the time. They can do whatever they want. They're cops. They're getting taught by cops who've been cops forever. Cop stuff. So cop training is like standardized testing in schools, right? You got to learn this much, period, done. If you start learning stuff over there, you didn't get trained that, so you're not allowed to do it. This is cop training, cookie cutter, right over here. This part right here is your cop training. This part right here. If you're this cop, you learn that training. If you're this security alarm, you learn that training. But it's all right here in this book, and that's all there is. There's other stuff, but it's none of your business. Cop training is over here. Now, if you're special cop training or deluxe cop training or backwards cop training, you can go over here and do some kind of training, but that's special, and we'll talk about that later. But 99% of post training, right? It's cookie cutter. You learn what you learn. You come out of that, and you're a master of guns, as far as you're concerned, right? And you might as well be, because you're never going to need to use your gun. Probably, if you do, you're going to know everything you need to know. World's good, you know. The world keeps going around. Everybody's safe and sound. Everything's great. But in real life, you don't know shit about guns. Like there's a ton of shit you don't know about guns, and you've only barely hit the surface. And gun people start learning all that other stuff. They go to where like SEALs and top of the line cop stuff and people that have been doing stuff for their entire careers and then retire and become professional shooters and then start teaching. Like these people are teaching us. So there's that difference. And I think when we're talking somebody who's had an entire career and then an entire second career and then stepped out to start teaching, they're not like your CCW instructor who's like, oh, I know everything, or this is what you need to know, and boom, you're done. Because they kind of have a little bravado that could or could not be unwarranted depending on where they're at. They're all going to be so different, but they're at some level. And then that cop training, I'm not talking shit about it. I'm just saying it is what it is, and it's it's like my cop car. It's a great car, but it ain't no Ferrari, and it's not the pinnacle of what all cars can be. It's just a solid, decent car. Cop training is decent, but it's right in the middle. It's not all that great. So the stuff that a real instructor is going to teach you is not like, there's your training, you got it, see ya. And if you get an instructor who's like, there's your training, see ya, take it for what it's worth, because there's other instructors that'll be with you for your lifetime.
No, I know exactly what you mean about the whole cookie cutter thing. Like I said before, that's how I got started, was doing armed security, and I wouldn't call the certification course that I had to go through bad or anything, but definitely didn't prepare me in the way I would have liked. And the way I found that out, I was working a bar the one night up in Erie, and it's about 1:30 in the morning, and I was looking at this place the whole time, and I'm like, we need at least two, if not three guards here. It was just me. I'm at a solid wood door, no windows. You have privacy glass in the front of the bar, so you can tell that people are walking up and you're going to be coming up to the door, but you can't tell how many people, what they're wearing, are they carrying anything, nothing. And then they want you to wand everybody for firearms before they come into the bar. So at 1:30 in the morning, this door opens. There's three males standing there. One of them has an AR-15 pointed at me, and I froze for a split second. Then I went to drop my duty weapon, and as I'm getting ready to draw, I realized that in his little ACOG scope there was red BBs. It was a airsoft gun. So on one hand, I was like, well, thank God, I froze, because if I would have had better training and reacted immediately, I'd have dusted this guy over an airsoft gun. But on the other hand, I'm like, if this gun would have been real, I could have been dead.
Well, and then that's something too that I guess I don't know the circumstances, but you can't be ready for an ambush or whatever. Like, you can be aware and stuff, but the bad guys want to get you. I just saw an interesting quote today. Something like the bad guys always something, and the good guys always have to react. Like so, they're good. Bad guys always have the upper hand. So I'm asking that you're fucked no matter what, basically. But well, you could try Bidening it next time you're in that kind of situation. Have a shotgun and a whole box of shells. As you see people coming through that glass, pop a shot off. Not at them, but up in the air through the door. Crack the door and shoot up in the air. And then if they got a gun, they'll probably reach for it. Then you'll be able to tell right away if they got a gun. And if they don't reach for a gun, then you can just let them in. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Just let them in.
Please grab your ear protection on the way out.
Now, that seems pretty. When you said somebody pointed a AR at you, I'm like, holy crap, what the hell are you dealing with there?
Yeah,
Maybe starting around or whatever.
it was a pretty wild night that night.
So since you're saying virtual classes wouldn't fly in Michigan due to the range requirements, but I doubt I would take a virtual class. And that's the thing, like the class requires. Did I not send? I might have sent Dead Horse the wrong link too. Then if I sent the wrong links to everybody. Yeah. If the class or some kind of shooting thing, you're going to have an instructor there still. So whatever the scenario had set up there was more like, if someone needed to be like the figurehead, it almost seemed like, like that. I haven't seen that situation, or like, although like I said, there is that whole deal with consistency. So it is possible that you could do some kind of a class, and again, like a USCCA, a national organization, or an NRA, national organization that a lot of people are going to join. Then you'd say, join this live chat. It's public or private or whatever, member only probably. And then you all experience the video at the same time, maybe take some kind of test, knowledge retention type of thing, but then go to your ranges to do your thing. I don't think that, I don't know, I guess it depends on the location, but I guess it's possible you could do like a postal match where you are then tasked with going and shooting on your honor, or have somebody vouch for it or something that watched it, a witness, and then send that in, or scan it. Probably now you would just scan it. So I guess it's possible to do something like that. And again, depending on the level of accreditation, if it's just to learn some technique, if it's like, CZs have a new lever on them, and here's a way to get experience with that. So there's not a lot of resting on that. It's just knowledge of a new thing, or maybe a new, I don't know, some kind of new lever or switch for an AR. So you have some kind of class, and then so everybody can kind of see it done, demonstrated at the same time. That Orsini finally got his government money. Did you? I didn't ask you. Did you ask for that, or were you just waiting for it? Did you guys get yours? Or do you have some coming?
Yeah, we got ours a couple of weeks ago.
Or you got direct deposit then, so it happened on that. Barbecue. Hello? Did you guys get yours already?
The stimulus money I got a couple weeks ago, directly deposited. It was pretty nice.
I don't have direct deposit. I don't know if you have to ask. If you have to ask, then I'm not going to get it. Okay, you didn't have to.
You don't have to ask unless you didn't file. Then there's a process. If you didn't file taxes, or there's something about that. But for most people, if you file taxes, then it's all automatically done.
Yeah, it's all being done through the IRS. And if, from what I understand, if you didn't file taxes yet this year, then it was supposed to go off of your 2018 tax return. And the only thing they're going off of is whether you had kids or not. So as long as you file taxes in 2018, they're going to send you $1,200. But if you have kids, then they're going to send you $500 more per kid. And that's the only reason that they're going off your taxes for 2018 or 2019, unless, like File said, there's some reason that you didn't have to file, like you're on disability. Then there's a site of some sort to go to and basically tell the IRS, that you have X amount of kids, and I don't know exactly how it works, but
What's it take to raise a kid? Can you raise a kid for like $450 a year? Make like $50 each kid that way.
You could, but that'd be awfully tough.
let's say,
In mass
I know
quantity.
I know the average cost of raising a kid from birth until age 18 now is something like $220,000 on average.
Yeah, maybe I'll figure out a different way to make money then. Who was ready? I don't know. Did anybody file taxes for this year already? Like 19 taxes? How files are taxes that quick?
Yeah, we did. We file as soon as you can normally.
I don't even get all my stuff. I mean, I usually have to wait at least like March or something before I even get all my stuff.
I filed back in February.
But yeah, I guess if you already filed this year, then they had all your stuff right on top of the pile. So anyway, that's good. Dead Horse got some projects he's working on, so that means he can get digging into them. That's cool. Bob's out there. I don't know what they're doing in Canada. I haven't heard too much. I follow a couple of Canadian Instagrams, but more about the guns and stuff than the bat virus.
They're probably just drinking Molson and playing hockey.
I'm the same way. As soon as they push the date back, I just push that crap back further on my desk. Deal with it later. Did they shut off Canadian sports like they shut off all of our sports?
Oh, does Canada actually have any of their own sports leagues?
Oh, yeah. That one game where they take brooms and sweep the ice and it's a big piece of rock.
Yeah,
Curling.
but that's the NHL. I mean, I guess I'm sure Canada must have their own because they have their own national team and all that. But like even the big Canadian teams playing the NHL.
Well, there's a Canadian Football League.
Yeah, but I think that's just for making fun of people.
I don't know if I'm kidding around or, but he says they're canceled. Okay, but he's saying he called this tax guy and they gave him his $2,000 right away.
Do you know when the Canadian Football League plays?
What?
I don't.
I have no idea either.
Yes. So I don't know. Did Canadians get the same kind of thing as we got?
A stimulus? I'm not sure if they did or not. I thought I heard that some of the European countries were doing something similar. But I don't know if Canada did or not.
I heard they had to close the border also. DTP is saying they closed the Canadian border because all the Canadians were coming down to move with us. They were looting. They seen that all the streets were. They came down here with their snowmobiles. All right. Well, we've been going for an hour and a half. I don't know if anybody, there's people out there. Not too many people are saying anything. Bob's saying stuff. Dead Horse got a link. Like the link out there if anyone wants to jump in real quick. Otherwise, anything else to chat about tonight?
Well, here's another one for you, G-Webs, going back to the technology stuff. As technology advances, do you think simulators that police agencies and such use could be made cheaper where they could be put into your local gun shops and people could take simulated trainings that way?
Yeah, it was in 2000. It had to be between 2010, maybe 13 or 14. So it's been a while. There was already a unit that was $100, if I remember right. Maybe it was a little more than that. And it
wow.
a laser thing that you would shove into the end of your barrel on whatever gun, and it would activate from just dry firing. So it kind of depended. You'd have to have basically a double action type of gun, or a reset trigger and a Glock or something. But basically, just slapping a trigger or the hammer on a or the striker on an empty chamber was enough to do a laser pulse or whatever. And then you need a screen, and then for like it was $100, I think, or it had to be a little bit more than $100, or else I would have owned it. Maybe it was $500, but it was inexpensive, especially considering like what it could do. But it was the software and a projector. But that, or no, maybe you needed a projector. Sorry. So it was just really the software, and then sort of like what a Wii is, right? I don't know when the Wii came out, so I don't know if it used that tech or if it was, just if it was before or after that game device. But it was enough to watch the screen and see where the dots went, and then do all the math. But the best part about it was you put your own pictures in and you put your own video in. So you could be an instructor and, let's say you were doing a CCW class at a hotel's conference room or at a gun shop's room or wherever you're doing it. You could have video of that and put it in your class, or you could have still pictures. If you were a gun shop, you could have still pictures of your shop and do your training, in your own, whatever you took pictures of. So if it was police, you could go take, pictures of the actual neighborhoods and stuff and do your training in your own environments. And that was years and years and years ago, and it was really inexpensive. So that was a kind of a no frills. You just pushed or pointed a projector at a wall. But since then, I don't know, Bob didn't jump in here, but Bob has seen the stuff at SHOT Show. Like I don't know how to describe them. I guess you'd call them rooms. They're kind of like a Halloween maze or something, that you just get a big enough room or a big warehouse building or something that you can set it up in. And you make tunnels out of bed sheets, basically, or screens. And there's projectors in there all over the place. And you're literally walking around corners and in and out of places. And it just depends on how big a room you want to set up. But they can put scenarios of all different types. It's insane what they can do. So, yeah, I mean, those things are it's the future. The last time I even saw one was years ago, and I just get blown away every time I see how awesome those things are. Going in and shooting in one of them is closer and closer to real life, and it induces stress in so many different ways. Just having all those sensory, peripheral vision and distance and all that stuff, and it's not some kind of interpretation from a video game. It's like actual stuff on a screen, video on a screen. So I can't even imagine why we don't see that more often. There's a place here in Phoenix called Modern Round, and it's have you seen these places that do axe throwing, where there's little bays and they throw axes? You drink or whatever, and they're like attraction is instead of being like an arcade, you throw axes at wood.
Yep. So
it's sort of like that. There's like these little bays, and there's like a table or something, and then a screen. And everybody, you show up if, party of 2 or 3 or 4 people or whatever show up, and there's drinks and you can eat. And there's no real guns. It's just all these laser guns, but some of them are rifles and some of them are probably like duck hunt, fake guns. And some of them are probably like off of video games, I suppose. And then others are airsoft or something. And it's just a matter of what you feel like. It's like, going and playing up with that stream or whatever it's called, where you just, dial it into whatever scenario you want or whatever game you want to play, and you just sort of rent it for an hour at a time or something, probably. So it's not really training. It's more of like an entertainment thing. It's like bowling, you go do that for an evening, but then during the day they have it as more of like you want to practice scenario training, or you want to practice maybe like a steel match or something, or that bowling pin match, because you can emulate all kinds of shooting styles with that kind of scenario stuff at this point. So if you want realistic, like gravity or difficult steels, like power factor crap, I don't know all that stuff, but like shooting 9mm at steel, where it's difficult, you could probably tweak it to, make you really have to place your shots and everything. So yeah, I can't imagine why that stuff isn't going to go nuts. Plus, it's safer, right?
I've seen videos where guys have made their own shooting simulators that are live fire out of a giant Kevlar sheet, and they use a Xbox 360 or one or whatever it is laser thing that sends out thousands of little lasers, that maps the screen and knows exactly where your bullets are impacting. And you can set up your own scenarios out of any personal video or cut a movie up or all sorts of things. So now you're shooting the bad guys in the Matrix, and then the screen's actually recognizing it, like when you do, it tells you when you're hitting and stuff.
Right, like it sees the laser and knows the angle and everything, and
Yeah.
interpolates if that was a 100-yard shot or if it was a miss or what.
Yep.
I never thought about that, but yeah, you could stick like a chunk of a video. I wonder if you can get walkthroughs. Imagine that, like for John Wick now. Is it John Wick, that movie? That it's so
The one that I saw the guy did was the Matrix. So he was shooting the Agent Smiths in the Matrix, right? And had like his thing chopped up that movie, so it became like a shooting simulator for him.
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if when they film a movie now, if they don't just, how when you can, for like karaoke, they'll record like a version with just the song or with just the instruments so that nobody's singing, so you can karaoke to it. I wonder if they'll take the sets and the scenery from movies like John Wick and just create like a vanilla version for those simulators. And then you can just walk through the movies that are cool, or like walk through like that one movie, Live, Die, Repeat. That would be a cool one, like that crazy Battlefield of the Future.
But basically,
those caverns from the future Terminator land, where you're like LA in the future or whatever, where the Terminator robots are running around. Be good practice.
Sheet, and that was it. Like he did not have much more than that. Like that was like his whole thing. It's like I built this for like under $300 or something, right? And it worked. So
you're talking like a sheet that just can absorb the video hitting it.
Yeah, it was like some Kevlar sheet that he found cheap online in bulk, and he sewed I think 2 of them together. I think they were like 2 4-foot strips or something, like long 4-foot strips, and he sewed 2 of them together. That was like
my friend will take his like those pop-up shelter or pop-up roofs, I guess, that don't have walls. He'll take that thing and pop it up, and then he'll just take his screen that he uses in the house for pushing the or pointing the projector at, and he'll set that thing up, and at night that thing works fine. I don't know what it looks like during the day. It probably doesn't work very good, but you don't even have to have anything fancy. Probably a bed sheet would work at night.
Yeah, he did the video I saw. The guy did like Duck Hunt, The Matrix, and then like I don't know, maybe it was like home movie footage for all I know. There was something else too, but like he was saying like like he basically copied Duck Hunt and did a thing for that, but with live fire. I think the guy was just shooting in his basement, is what it looked like to me. And just weak 9mm, of course. I don't think you could probably. I don't think you could go Magnum on how thin a Kevlar he had.
Wait, hold on. Are you saying there was a projectile being shot out, or it's a laser thing?
No, the screen's being shot at. The projector is like kind of like off, like up and above the guy's head, shining at the screen. And the lasers are behind him too, and the lasers are all shining at the screen, 2 of them, and it knows exactly where your bullets are hitting on the screen. To like if
you're talking about shooting bullets, I'm talking about having a laser nodule that just triggers every time you pull a trigger.
Oh no, this was live fire. This guy was shooting 9mm.
Oh, and then what? Into those walls and stuff?
Like into this Kevlar sheet, this fabric sheet.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like one of them bulletproof sheets that you'll buy.
Yeah, and it was a thick Kevlar sheet, and he like had sewn 2 of them together, and that was the projector screen, and it was the bullet backstop. I don't know if he had it up against. I don't think he had it up against the concrete wall because it looked like it was moving back 3 or 4 inches when the bullets were hitting it, but the bullets weren't going through it. Well, that was, like I said, that was just 9mm though, so.
Well, you'd want, if you were trying to catch a bullet, you'd want it to be hanging, right? You'd want the energy to go into moving the blanket.
Yeah, I think that's why it wasn't going through it, because the blanket actually could like move and flex back, and it was just catching all of them. I don't know how long that would hold up for, but
if you put it right against a cinder block wall, you'd probably still be denting or shattering your wall eventually. The energy's still going straight through.
I know back in the day they would make you put 2 inches of solid lead or 2 inches of solid brass as a backstop.
Well, not for 9mm. You could put like You can get that corrugated plastic that they make like the gun show signs on. You just put a couple of layers of that back there. Gotta worry about it bouncing back at the shooters though. It is hot as hell. I'm gonna go look and see what temperature it is at 11 o'clock at night. About time for me to start whining about my temperature here. 85 degrees at 11 o'clock at night. It's gonna be 101 tomorrow already. What the hell? What temperatures you also got? So I can be jealous of your temperatures.
Low 80s.
60.
60 for sure.
Low 80s. I'm sunburned so bad that it feels like it's 100.
It's gonna be 101, so that'll give you like 100.
Probably like lower 50s right now.
I wouldn't mind it if it went down to 50s at night, because then I could blow the cold around and cool the place down. But it's only gonna be 74. Like I was talking about invading North Dakota for the cheap cigarettes. I don't know if I asked it. Does anybody else is opening up? Arizona's supposed to open up tomorrow, but they're giving us the 15th now. Up and be said, a dead horse. So I don't know how many people out there. Maybe I'll open it up.
I think we're one of the last states to, like, we're actually shutting down stuff right now. Like, we just closed a park here and, like, just barely.
Barbecue, we're getting a weird thought. You're saying they closed a park?
Yeah, they closed a park. And that was just barely, just like yesterday, they closed a park here, a big park. You know, so like first, we're the last to go. I think severe on stuff. Maybe I don't know. But
Barbecue is still there.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're getting a weird feedback. Okay, so that's weird. So there's still places. I guess I haven't been paying attention. So there's still places that are ramping up as opposed to
yeah,
Arizona.
I think we're like on that, tippity top of the teeter totter right now. Like we're ramping up to the full extent that maybe other places did. Where now we're closing public parks. When I was hearing about public parks being closed in other places 2-3 weeks ago and stuff, right? Like, and and we're just barely closing public parks here and stuff, and like campgrounds and stuff. So, like, all within this last week. So, like, we're just like everything else in Utah. We're behind the times. So.
Well, and I'm guessing that this time, or with this unprecedented like wave or sweep or whatever it's called, and then with hindsight, they'll be able to figure out paths and distribution routes and stuff, right? Because except for right at the end here when everything got blocked, it was kind of business as normal. Everybody was doing their thing. So maybe that's just the normal way. Like when you crack a whip, the ripples that go through it, like just because you stop whipping it, those ripples still got to keep going. So maybe that's just the effect when the states out here are going to get hit after the states out there.
I think that's exactly what it is, because we're still doing the whole 2 items for whatever it is thing at everywhere, right? Doesn't matter what you're buying, you're limited to 2 items of stuff, and all that's still going on, and the whole stand 10 feet apart and stand on these X's, and only 20 people in the store, and then you have to follow the lines down all the aisles and walk a certain direction down the aisle and stand 10 feet apart and don't pass each other. Like all these rules, it was like, man, like not even public school was this bad. But Like that's all still going on here. So I think like as it's tapering off other places, we'll be like the last ones to taper off. And last I checked, we only had like 23 cases in our county. And our county's bigger than the country of Israel. So like it's bigger than entire countries, and we have like 23 cases in the whole county, and we're at this extreme measure.
And it's not like a county the size of Israel without any resources. You've got hospitals.
Yeah, hospitals and stores and stuff, and and like and people are still going to the stores. They're still buying gas. They're still, they're still going places and doing things, but it's it's different. It's different only being able to buy 2 items and having to stand in line just to go into Walmart. Like it's just a different world. It's weird. I'm not used to it. It just feels funny when I go out and stuff, and you have to wear masks and just and then you look at everyone's masks and they're just basically like a little baklava thing or sock or something kind of thing, and and you're like from everything we've seen, like, oh, those masks don't do anything. They don't help them and they don't help me. Like like, man, like because hardly anyone's wearing an actual HEPA mask or something. So I don't know. It's weird. I've always known mask guys to be the bad guys. People who wear masks, those are bad guys. And just, it's weird. Everyone's wearing a mask.
Well, everybody's wearing it now. If it stays a consistent thing, or if it stays something that's a concern, it could just easily switch to a more like what do you call, like when you're grinding, right? You don't have like a welder's mask on, but just that face shield. If it turns into something like that, because people aren't going to want to not see each other's faces for very long. It could turn to something like that, or maybe they come up with a flexible clear aluminum thing that works perfect or something. We start wearing something that's inconspicuous, or
those big bubble balls that you see people rolling in and around at the park. We just all need to be inside those big bubble boys.
There you go.
All a bunch of bubble boys and bubble
like, maybe there's something as simple as like a copper bubble or something, or ball you put in your mouth, and or some kind of chewing gum or something that some kind of spearmint chewing gum kills it or something. So there could be something that gets everybody's mind off of it, or gets everybody less concerned real quick.
I hope so. I hope we taper down faster than what the rest of the country is, so I hope that we catch up to them faster on the tail end of this thing. And from what I'm hearing, that it all goes away by summertime mostly, and because of the heat and stuff. So I hope that we put this behind us and the country never has to go through this again. I'm praying for it.
Sincere saying in Michigan, stay-at-home orders are tension. Stay-at-home order tension are bubbling up here, and is concerned for the future. Be concerned for the future. That's frustrating. That's not exactly a dense state. I mean, there's dense areas of Michigan, but it's a big state, and it's I think of it, I guess, as far as the chill factor, I consider it more on the chill end than the stressed out end. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago there was a rally at the Olympia, the Washington Capitol. The news said there was like a couple thousand people, some out on the steps and then some driving around honking their horns. I didn't go to it. Some of the organizers I didn't care for. So, but yeah, there's a lot of people that are tired of being cooped up.
Yeah.
Well, I think certain places. Oh, sorry, G-Webs.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think certain places are taking some things stricter than other, whether it's demographic or whether it's political parties that are in control there, or however it is. Everyone kind of follows a chain of command down from the governor to mayors to stuff like that, right? All the way down to police chiefs. So I can see some areas being a little bit more strict, and other areas being more lenient, and maybe even putting in orders like, oh, we're closing down the parks, but if someone shows up there and is playing with their kids or something, we're going to use discretion and not bother them because they're not doing anything. So I think that that's stories that aren't being told right now of like where there are parks closed and people are still going and playing in them and stuff, right? Like, so we're probably only seeing the bad side of like the worst of stuff on the news, right? So I like to think that for every bad story I hear out there of something like being infringed upon, that there's like 10 good stories that nothing happened that day, so it didn't make the news.
Yeah, for Washington, it's still basically voluntary, the stay-at-home part. They're not arresting people or really harassing anybody. It's mainly the businesses that they're coming down on, the ones that are considered not essential. Um, our governor even put in a hotline so you can report places that aren't supposed to be open. Uh, but they, like I said, overall, they're not really going after the average people that are out there. He just will complain that people aren't listening to his orders.
I guess, just talking about it, there's the, like Dead Horse is saying, there's the people that are going to put up the order, what do you, for sake of like, I don't know if it's for the sake of compliance or if
To
it's,
save their face so nothing can come back on them where someone can't say, oh, you should have did something. So it's
yeah,
all about protecting their ass. Sorry, G,
like,
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, yeah, like a liability thing almost. Like just, like we want to make sure we're following the procedure so we don't get thought of as neglectful or whatever. But I was just going to say, but then if like a whole bunch of people show up at the beach or whatever, in spite of whatever the thing is, and there's also places where they're opening it up, and let's say a whole bunch of people show up or not, because one of the two things is going to happen, right? Or I guess maybe something in the middle. But anyway, I'm just saying you're going to get a lot of feedback here in the next few days, weeks, as that either happens or it doesn't happen, right? Because I'm not judging it. I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not saying I agree with it if it does happen or if it doesn't. But because there are now lines in the sand, some places are saying you can't go out and you got to stay home, and other people are saying, "Fuck you, I'm going out anyway." And then other places are saying you're opening up, feel free. And we're either going to see people saying, "Hey, I'm free to go out, but I'm not," or they're going to say, "I'm free to go out now, thank you," and they're going to rush out and they're going to lead the way, or maybe not. Like I said, it's going to be interesting one way or the other here in the next few weeks, I guess. My question was then going to be, unless you guys want to follow up on that, feel free. But has anybody been following what the other countries are doing? I've really only heard in passing very sparse information about other countries. Is the rest of the world calming down on this, or are they still freaking out?
I've talked to someone who lives in Puerto Rico, and like they're kind of on a lockdown thing too. It sounds like it's just very similar to what's happening here. And as far as the rest of the world goes, I don't know if I can believe the news. I heard like El Salvador is like torturing prison, like put all the prisoners in one room together, hoping that it kills them all. And like I'm hearing, like I don't know what I can believe on the news as far as foreign stuff goes, in France and stuff. So I don't know. It
I
all
would think
sounds bad though.
Well, I would think that if, let's say, this thing was exponential growth, everyone's dying, cataclysmic, end of the world, plague, smallpox, whatever, especially, I mean, everything put together, plus 5, right? Or times 10. Then we wouldn't be bickering about how many people showed up to the rally to complain about that we shouldn't be having to stay home or vice versa. How many people didn't show up to a rally about going home? If it was like, let's say India, which I would think would be the most vulnerable, right? Place with billions of people. Like if they were over there just zombie nation or World War Z type of thing, where it's just people going nuts, we would hear nothing about how bad the rest of the world is, right? Oh, I don't mean like.
I don't know.
um,
I don't
news
know.
media.
From what I'm hearing stuff that does make it sound bad, and there's some stuff coming out of China that the mainstream news isn't running with, but independent and stuff news is that makes China sound like they're pulling a whole Germany type, mass extinction thing that they've been burning entire villages and towns.
Well, that's speculation. I'm talking like real countries that got nothing to worry about, like England or France or Spain or somebody like for Italy. Remember, Italy was the one where it
The
was
news
worried.
is making it sound like it's a lot worse than it is here, from what I've seen on the news about those places.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So if the rest of the world is literally like in crumbles, then we're doing all right. If the rest of the world is over this and they're worried about the new, getting soccer back on, or whatever their version of football or whatever it's called, back on track, and we're the last country worrying about if we should stay home or not. That's all I'm saying. Are we in that position yet?
I know I saw some things where they were like, they keep pushing back the stay at home quarantine thing, like 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, and so just recently I saw a bunch of posts about how people in different areas of at least our country got pushed back till the end of May. So
Yeah. So I don't know what the other countries, though, from what I remember, were already like they just locked down till June type of shit. They didn't even fart around. They just locked down for 6 months right away, right? They're all
That's
used
all
to
I
be easy though. Those people don't even work. They take like 6 months of vacation normally anyway.
that's all I've seen. I haven't really researched it, but that's all I was hearing was that like England and Europe are really locked down, and the cops will come out and hassle you and maybe arrest you if you're out and about.
Because we got nothing to complain about if, like I say, if the rest of the world is crazy martial law type of shit. I mean, not that we should complain about whatever. I'm just saying, it could be worse, I guess.
well, a lot of these other countries, I would compare them to California, right? They're mixing pots. They're tiny little countries, and like all those European countries and stuff. I mean, yeah, there's a couple large ones, but most of them everywhere is all, I'd say similar to California. California even has like a higher GDP than a lot of them, right? And California, you know, what they got 40 million people there, 8 million gun owners, and I think the last numbers I heard like 1,600 deaths. So that's a lot, but it might not be a lot when you consider, I don't know, I guess how many people die there, maybe of whatever every day.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you nearly need, right? Is the ratio, like of the elderly people that were fun to die anyway in a state of 40 million people. How many of them were just minding their business and would have lived for another 20 years except for this, versus they were going to die next Tuesday anyway. And now they died this week instead.
I think we're handling it extremely well in America from the numbers I've seen, and and then again, and that's not even counting what you have just said about, you know, someone that might have been going to die anyway or something, or like because they even came out. We all saw it on the news where the CDC said, anyone who dies who has the like an antibody in their blood or whatever is, we're marking it as a COVID death. So we know that has to account for at least some, even if it's only like 5 or 10%. That's that still knocks down the 1,800 number or whatever a lot.
Well, and even with that, they're um, some of the doctors, even if there wasn't a test done, if they suspect it was COVID related, they'll put down COVID related because that's what they were told to do.
Well, because then they can file for government assistance and get
Right, there's a financial thing too, right? And a WHO thing. Like they're part of like the WHO was asking them last September about something. Were they going to participate in it? They're certainly participating in it now, though. But that's all stuff that's tough to deal with when we're in the midst, right? That's going to be 2020 hindsight, I guess, in 2021, because we have to wait.
well,
Time has to pass for us to be able to really get good.
maybe this will start a whole new revolution where we do kind of go back to normal, right? But everyone's much more careful about washing their hands more often, using hand sanitizer. Businesses more about cleaning doorknobs and tables and stuff, right? And maybe it sparks that kind of revolution to where it cuts down on all this stuff, flus and pneumonia, like all the everything, right? It cuts down on all these communicable diseases, the common cold. Like, wouldn't that be a thing if out of this came, like, a mass reduction in all, all diseases and viruses and stuff?
Well, there's something I heard, so much stuff in the last month or whatever with different debates and talks, but it was something I listened to. I wasn't part of it, but it was something about when, like you're saying, there's like an awareness now. So now more people are being cleaner and paying more attention, and that is as a result. And like we're saying, what about the people that would have normally died? Maybe they wouldn't have died, but they might not have gotten sick and blah blah blah, and the butterfly effect there. So it's, yeah, I agree with you 100%. I mean, this is literally unprecedented worldwide issue that, everyone from now on will be able to talk about the 2020 Corona situation. And yeah, can you even imagine? Like, there's going to be, there's always been, I guess, has there always been? I don't remember when those hand sanitizer things started, but more, I've used them. I never used one before. I've actually used one for the first time in my life when I picked up a shopping cart, like slathered the thing in filth or whatever.
Yeah, you don't want to know what people used for hand sanitizer back in the old days. But I think that it'll just create a whole, germ-free type revolution, maybe, or we, take better care of our whole world and ourselves, and stay more clean. And I can easily see that this sparking a revolution, because if
Right.
enough people die of this and everyone knows somebody who got it or died of it, that can change the world.
So we all know that people are home now. That's not a problem. Pretty much every job is now being handled easily from home. So that's not, we've got that part figured out. And we know that the environment's doing better because there's no cars driving around, it's just those truckers. And pretty soon we're going to have robot trucks, so we'll get rid of them. So now, we're going to have the streets and stuff revert. We've seen coyotes and stuff running around out there. It'll be crazy wildlife out there. So here's the solution to it all. We get smaller vehicles like little go-karts and mopeds and stuff, and we have monkeys run around and do the delivering. And then we just train them. They do all the work. We just all stay in our homes.
Yeah, but are the monkeys going to deliver the food, or whatever you're having delivered, or are they going to rip your face off as soon as you open the door?
They're already copying us in the wild and using stone tools and spear fishing and all sorts of stuff from just watching man do it. So I mean, yeah, they're on their way. Give it another 200 years.
Kind of a weird.
Teaching them sign language, all sorts. I mean, yeah, they're on their way.
Think of like Planet of the Apes mixed with like Uber and Amazon delivery and like Domino delivery, kind of all kind of a hybrid of that.
If there's any of them named Caesar, I'm out.
I think there'll be. I don't know. We were talking sometime, and I think it might have been on air, but I've been thinking more about it. I think that there's a potential for people that lived in cities for all kinds of reasons, didn't think much of it, are going to start eyeballing the idea of living out in the country and stuff. And there's tons of cool places. There's whole towns that are kind of abandoned, and whatever mining or whatever industry moves on. There's textile places that moved on, like all kinds of shifts in the economy and stuff change things. So there's little towns that are just ripe for people to come by and start up neighborhoods. And there's so many small business types opportunities that could grow. Think about just the infrastructure stuff that we now know that we're lacking. All the just the personal protection stuff is obvious, but the stuff that maybe isn't so obvious that we're not thinking about, in the headlines right now, the homeschooling and all that kind of stuff, and the tech stuff like the webcams and things like that, streaming and servers. Like there's just such infrastructure that could be developed that's I guess what's the word, local based, or I want to say grassroots, but could be strategically better off if we had smaller self-sufficient little things. And like I say, there's potential there. I think we could I'm thinking of like some of the server towns back east. There's towns that kind of grew up near the power plants and stuff because of the servers. Just that kind of stuff, new infrastructure that we never knew we could depend on, or that we lack or something. We didn't know that we missed it.
I'm not sure how that's going to be affected. In the last 5 years or so, up until the COVID thing hit, there was a real big push to get people into cities, um, higher density, I think mainly for tax reasons, but to, more centralized stuff. And I wouldn't mind, I'm not a city person. I like being out in the country. But I don't know, will people go back to the country, or once stuff settles down, will that push to get everybody together continue?
That's true, because I'm not in the city. I don't know what's going on in the cities, but you're right. I'm not even thinking of stuff like neighborhood stuff and community gardens and rooftop gardens, and you can be pretty self-sufficient inside of a city, I bet, if you put your mind to it. And you got cut off.
I would say it depends totally on population density. On too populated of a big city, I don't think so. But on more of like a small city to large town sized, I think that's possible. Large cities are just too much concrete and urban jungle, and I think maybe on the outskirts and the suburb areas and stuff, but like actually in the cities, I don't see it. Not unless like a massive infrastructure thing was to take place where they ripped down a lot of places to build, gardens and stuff.
Yeah, see the thing about Detroit where they came in and there was a bunch of how the houses all I forgot what exactly happened when everybody just left. I guess the industry left, so all the houses got foreclosed on, and it was just all these houses were just empty, basically abandoned. So they went in and they bought a chunk of them, knocked them all down, and then put in not really a forest, but like an orchard, I guess, like not fruit orchard, but like trees for paper or whatever. Like you grow them for like 10 years, and then you chop them down and start again. Did something like that, and they basically created like a forest preserve. All right, so I just saw a CDC report with average weekly deaths over the last 5 years. Current death rates by region appears that is up 100% everywhere. Been waiting a long time for this number. So it's 100% more than normal. So if an area is currently seeing 100, they would have normally seen 50. So it is pushing certain people over the tipping point, but nothing that warrants the current emergency orders. And that's our CDC. That would be, I guess, have any relation to the WHO? Would they wait for the WHO to say that, or does WHO wait to hear our numbers? How does that work?
I haven't seen the report, but I kind of question that.
Well, just question you think it'd be more or less? Like it's more
Less.
of an issue?
Less, just with the fudging of the numbers that they've already done. There's been a decrease in pneumonia deaths and other deaths like that because they're shifted over to they're being classified as COVID deaths. So I don't know if it's just moving the numbers around to make it look like it, or because from some of the numbers I had seen, which I don't have off the top of my head, there isn't this huge increase in deaths.
I would think that since they're not being completely overwhelmed, also that it's not like they're, I don't know, like you heard some of those countries were like burning bodies because they couldn't keep up with the amount of dead or whatever. It's not like that ever happened. So it's not like they can't do autopsies and actually guess you say once it's calmed down or whatever, they can't go back and figure out what happened by, the evidence is all still there.
I think part of the like with China and burning bodies, it's most of China is a third world country, and so they're on the brink of death all the time, and any little extra thing will push them over. So it's hard to correlate that with the U.S.
I've been kind of jumping around on different topics here. We're hitting the 2 hour mark. Anybody got any other topics to throw out? Dwindling down to 8 people out there.
Nope, I'm just waiting for the gun shop I used to open. I ordered a couple things just before all this hit, and they're supposed to open on the 15th, but with the governor pushing back opening businesses, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
I think now's a good time to be an environmentalist. And because everything's closed and everyone's been trapped up for so long, is to, take a day and drive way far out somewhere, wherever you got to go, however far you got to drive to where you're out in forest or desert or wilderness, and take some trash bags with you and clean up some stuff.
Yeah, it's a great idea, especially at least around here. Everybody's kind of out in the first level of where you can get to. So yeah, taking that extra half a day and driving out somewhere remote, it's a great idea. And then doing something while you're there. Perfect.
Yeah. And, take a gun out to shoot too or something, right? But just take your extra Walmart bags or grocery store bags, right, that we all get. And, I just take like a dozen of those with me and fill those up full of some stuff. Spend, an hour. Pick it up, make yourself feel good, give you some exercise. You do a good thing,
Or just, if you see something, pick up one thing. If everybody picks up one thing, that helps.
I'm all about this, pack out more than you bring in thing. I mean, just if everyone did that, I see too many couches and TVs and, cans and bottles and glass and just stuff. And that's how these spots get shut down. Like every place that I talk to people back east, you guys all used to have shooting spots back east you could go to. You know why you can't? It's because people went out there and dumped and tore it up and disrespected it, and and people got tired of it and it got shut down. And that's going to continue to spread across the country like a coronavirus, and more places are going to get shut down, and more fences and gates are going to go up, and we're not going to have any place in this country on public land to shoot.
And one of the things is the clubs and stuff. I guess they were clubs, or for us, it was for a long time. It was on the forums. There'd be like a group that would, I don't know, for whatever reasons, holiday or something would instigate it, and they would go up to the shooting areas around here. It's the hills, and do a cleanup where they'd like organize one. Bring a dumpster out there and arrange to have it picked up, and then everybody come out on the same day so that you had that dumpster out there. And then that's probably a kind of a dependent on interest in the community type of thing. But I was also going to say it kind of depends. One of the reasons that kind of got derailed out here in Tucson is when one of the ranges that did it got shut down, and that kind of put a hole in the works for a while there until somebody kind of started organizing it again. But yeah, I don't know. I was going to say too that when you do that, when you pack stuff out, I mean, I just know this one from experience that when you're the one packing it out and if someone witnesses that, then that's got to go a long way. We were out one time shooting in an area and just decided to bring a bunch of stuff back with us because it was just, we couldn't leave it out there. It was just a mess, right? And we didn't have a bunch of bags or nothing. It was just my truck. So we just threw it all in the back of the truck. So we had our stuff and then just a bunch of this garbage just like you say, it was, I forgot what it was. It was just like a bunch of wood, like a bed frame or something. And so just nasty wood. It wouldn't have fit in a bag anyway. Well, luckily I had a pickup and we were getting ourselves out of there. And I forget exactly, this is forever ago now, but I think it was an old lady or an old guy. And they were kind of crotchety and we were just being us. So we went over to see what's up, and they were basically sitting there with their cell phone about to call it in. And then they figured out that we were pulling trash out of there. So in what would have been a anonymous call, hey, there's people out here shooting again. And probably nothing would have been done except another mark on a tablet somewhere that people were out bothering the old guy again. But instead it was, oh, you guys were out here picking stuff up? Thanks. Yeah, you guys come out here anytime you want. Like now that I know that truck, like, and this was years ago since I didn't know the guy anymore, but we made sort of a positive contact with a local, I guess, or neighbor to the shooting area.
Yeah, and that sends a positive message. I don't know, like I've had DNR and pull up on me when I'm shooting, and to have when you spend like the first 20 minutes or 10 minutes or however long just picking up and filling up this 3 or 4 Walmart bags, right? That really doesn't take long. Most shooting spots that people have, and you have 4 garbage bags sitting there, full of stuff. Yeah, like when they see that, they're instantly like, oh, okay, you're respecting the place. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you say that we didn't do it out of knowing it was going to happen, but there was a bunch of garbage just sitting right where we normally would park. Did the same thing, like they're in the back of the truck, rebagged it. It was basically that somebody took their garbage bags out there and just shot the garbage bags like a bunch of assholes. So we just put another garbage bag around it, threw in the back of the truck, and yeah, same kind of thing. It was Park Forest Service came up. I mean, they knew us anyway, but same kind of thing. See that you're out there shooting, but you're also not adding to the pile. But on the other hand, that's probably maybe 1 of 3 times in my whole life that Border Patrol, Forest Service has ever come up while you're shooting. They usually don't come around. They don't have any interest in going up to people that are shooting usually.
No, they usually park 100 or yards or more away and look at you through high-powered magnified optics and watch what you do for a while. I've seen plenty.
Yeah. Well, see, you guys don't have Border Patrol. That's what Border Patrol do out here. They don't have any interest in anything. I don't know what their jurisdiction is. They just don't care if you're not, whatever they're dealing with. They just don't care. They'll look at you because they got nothing else to do.
Yeah, they'll even plant like dummy deer, like right off the side of the road here, that move and everything. That will turn their head down and bend their head down like they're eating and grazing, and like that look real. That look real. I mean, they look. You can't tell. I mean, not from 100 yards or more. Like they look so real, and they catch a lot of guys just stopping right there on the road, shooting out of their vehicles every single year. And that's up big time right now because of all this going on. Poaching's up big time. Those guys are working overtime right now.
But the thing that bugs me about that is when they do it during open season. I like here in PA, road hunting is illegal, but if you're waiting until the season comes around, I know a lot of people that are putting deer in the freezer because that is a food source for them throughout the year. And if you're putting a steak out there in front of a wolf, he's gonna get it. And for some of these people, if there's a deer, it's just, hey, there it is. You just happen to be traveling from point A to point B in your vehicle. To call that person a road hunter and say they were poaching or something like that, you kind of set them up for it.
Well, it depends. If it's one of them places, like I've heard of New Zealand or someplace where there's not even seasons, like they just want to get rid of all deer. And if it's something like, we don't want you stopping on the side of the road and shooting at this deer, but it's in season and nobody cares if you shoot a deer. But like in Arizona, you're only allowed to shoot 1 deer. So if people out here are poaching, it's because they're worried about the strength of the herd or like the number of deer. But if it's more of like quit stopping on the side of the road and shooting, then it seems kind of, I guess I understand it, but yeah, I hear what you're saying because if it's unsafe or something, but if the point is to get rid of a bunch of deers, would you rather have that deer walk in front of a bunch of people that aren't paying attention that are texting
Well, I understand what you're saying about people stopping on the side of the road. Let's say, and that I see as an issue.
And the funny thing is, all they got to do is take a couple steps off the roadway. That's it. I mean,
Well, that's the thing, right?
it's
If
not.
you stop your car and walk towards the deer a little bit, then nobody can say nothing. I guess maybe if it's
Yeah.
within 100 feet.
Well,
The guys are stopping like right on the road and shooting off like in the road, shooting off the hood of their truck or shooting right out of their truck. Those are the guys they get. If you pull over and you walk off the road, that's all you got to do. And every state's different, right? So other states might have different laws, but here you just got to get off the road.
yeah, here in PA, I think you got to get something like 200 feet away from the roadway.
Yeah, so that's more of like a behavior thing where like they're sick of people just being reckless or something, I guess. But it's in Utah too. You guys don't have deer that are like like vermin. Like your deer aren't overwhelming everywhere, are
It depends. On eastern Utah, we get a lot better deer. Out here, our deer are pretty. There's small whitetails and stuff, and it depends on where you go.
they? There's some places like I'm thinking like Indiana, maybe Illinois, probably Wisconsin. I bet Iowa, probably like where there's cornfields and soybeans and stuff where they probably are so sick of deer, like they're probably more like a bounty on them. Like, please stop. Like, you're going to get arrested if you don't stop and shoot that deer.
No, places like Iowa, they actually, it's a big moneymaker for them with the trophy bucks that they have and whatnot. And another state that is actually really good for big buck and stuff like that is Illinois, believe it or not.
Something like with your mic there, you're like too close to it or something now. It's like overmodulating or something. Say that
Yeah,
again.
you're breaking up a little bit there, Guns of Barbecue.
We heard more like what it sounds like when the teacher talks on Charlie Brown.
Is that any better?
Oh yeah, way clearer. What'd you say before?
All right. But yeah, no, places like Iowa, they're so well known for having big buck. It's actually a really big moneymaker for them to have people come in from out of state, buying out of state tags. There's actually a point system, I believe, that you have to go and enter into to even try and get a buck tag for Iowa. It can get really expensive. And from what I understand, there's some really hefty fines for poaching in states like Iowa that have those big trophy bucks.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that when it gets like competitive and stuff. Because that's the other thing is that all deers ain't just like a commodity, whatever, like hunk of meat that's in the road. Like, yeah, some of them are. Yeah, I think about that. Be like catching a giant fish just because you felt like fishing, eating something.
Yeah, like here in Pennsylvania, last thing I had read said Pennsylvania is the second most hunted state in the continental U.S. For whitetail, second only to Texas. So when you're talking about the different laws and the poaching and things like that, it carries a different severity depending on where you go.
Started running it on Instagram just to see if anybody be awake in the middle of the night. So I don't. Whenever I start stuff on Instagram, it comes up with I think people from all around the world. So I don't know the people on Instagram's names. So if you want to say something, feel free. But Sin is saying we used to be able to shoot in many empty gravel quarries here in Michigan back in the day, not so much anymore. I guess it depends on if it's private or what, because we definitely have a couple of quarries out here too. Those are like the perfect shooting areas usually, right? But the ones that people shoot in are privately owned, and then Actually, one of them is privately owned and then sort of just ignored. Like the property owner just leaves it, so people shoot on it. And then the other one is um, well, the other two are on state land, I guess, or government land, but they're technically kind of, what do you call, like a quarry for like the road? Like when the road needs it, or the road workers need it, they'll go grab a truckload of sand or something out of there. Oh no, I think the three of them are like that, and they don't really care if you shoot there. They don't ever put any fences up or nothing.
Like an access road.
I don't know what happened. As soon as I went live on Instagram, maybe something about the radio waves of my phone or something, like there's like 1,000 moths showed up bouncing around my fluorescent bulbs up here now. So let's see, we had, holy crap, look how many people showed up. One of them was called Explicit 8, and the 8 was like a number 8. That sounds like a normal one. C4 Boom. That sounds all right. The next one was MJOLNIR. That's nothing, right? Well, that's nothing. The next one is GIBERTOVC. And also if like the icon is like a Muppet. Like, if the icons aren't a person or something that looks something like something, I tend to not sure what the account is. The next one's Solo, and then some numbers. This next one is ABDUR, so it's Aboliterashrid, and then a space Momin. So that's not the United States, is it? And then you got Amud 29, Bumble L3, then normal. There's Foss, and then Pomade. There's people I recognize the names of, but I don't know. Can you guys see the ones that are up above it? Can you join it? I don't know how it works on it.
No, I can't see anybody above where I joined.
Yeah. So I don't know if I think it goes live. Well, there's a bunch of people I know now. So you're saying like, oh, I'm in Bama, probably. I was like, oh, you're in Burma. Like, Bama, what kind of exotic island is that? See, but solo, that's like a normal word. Like, I know that. It's like an English word. But anyway, so I figure when you go live on Instagram, it probably goes live to all those like phone banks that are in every part of the country, every part of the world, doing whatever weird spam crap is happening, right? Back in the day, it used to be a room full of computers going, and people would be logged on doing whatever, milking whatever systems or doing whatever weird shit you need a room full of people on different accounts doing. And I've seen stuff now, and it's just like it'll be like a wall, and it'll just be like a whole bunch of little pockets, and inside of those pockets are just a whole bunch of cell phones. So they just do everything on cell phones now. So I figure there's whole bunches of people that are on their shift, doing work. Long time. Let's see. Oh, since I was 20, long time. People say that once in a while. So let's see. If I started making videos in 2009, then just the videos alone would have been 11 years ago. So I guess some people have been watching our videos for 11 years. Oh, I'm sitting here half showing my email. I should probably close my email over here. I didn't show any email addresses, did I? I've been not paying attention to where I'm pointing the phone.
I don't think you did.
Oh, that's weird. Are you all getting like a weird echo because I'm unmuted and in both of these? Or you just mute your phones, I guess?
Yeah, I just got my phone turned down. Oh, he's 33.
Whenever people do these live things on Instagram, I'll try to watch them sometimes, but I can't do it. I don't know how people can do it. Because I'm always on my phone, I'm trying to do something. I don't just sit around looking at my phone. So if I'm holding my phone, I'm doing something, right? So if I'm on Instagram, I want to be doing something on Instagram, not just sitting there watching a video.
I play
So-
them while I'm driving and stuff, right? Like, and
Well, I guess I haven't driven in a while.
like I don't always watch them, but I'll listen to them. Is what I mostly do. Is I'll hit, I see someone's live, I'll hit the thing. I'm setting the phone down. My hands are busy doing something else, or
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I don't really do that, I guess, but because usually if I'm driving, I didn't think about it. I got that thing you gave me, though. I could do that, try that, but then it would just somebody would have to be live while I'm driving. But I was just gonna say if they would make a thing where you could slide the thing up and only watch it on half of the screen, so I could still do something else on the rest of my screen, then I would probably be more interested in watching people on Instagram Live. So Solo is saying, thought we were around a little bit longer. Well, we've been around doing on websites since 2004, but on YouTube, I think we started in 8, and then I started making videos in 9 or something. And then he's asking, what are we chatting on now? And this is the Daily Gun Show podcast we do every night. This is on StreamYard or El Pato, and it's a piece of software out of Canada, and it emulates what the Hangout used to do for us. There's 4 people in here, and then we're broadcasting to YouTube, and that's what this chat over here is the YouTube people that are watching, commenting and stuff. And says we've been going for about 2.5 hours now. We start at midnight Eastern. So it says we got 5 people, but that's all you people. So all the people that are in here jumped into here to see what's going on. But I figured I'd launch it just so people could see what we're doing.
Yeah, on my phone I can minimize YouTube and then do other stuff. And I wish I could do that with Instagram too.
Yeah, exactly. On YouTube, somehow I don't know how to do it. It'll happen once in a while. Like if somebody gives me a link to a YouTube while I'm in something else, it'll only show up on half of my phone, and I can, I can decide to watch it on the full screen, but I can also just let it run halfway.
Yeah, because I'll use my tablet or my laptop to listen to YouTube, and then I'll use my phone to comment because it's easier for me that way. But then I'll also, if I want to go look something up while during the chat, I can search and then pop back and forth.
I forget too that I guess I'm familiar with a computer, so when I think about doing something, I think about how to do it on a computer or whatever. If somebody came around and never really did a computer like what I did, so they've got a phone and their phones are amazing and they can just do their phones differently than I can, it's just going to be their first inclination is to do stuff on the phone. So I just have to maybe get a better phone or maybe get a second competent phone so that I can let one of them be watching something or doing something 100% like that. So Solo is asking on the Instagram side, do we like the PA63, which I have no idea what that is. So he said a Hungarian PPK basically in 9x18. So anybody know what that is off the top of their head?
I don't.
PA63. Oh shit! Did I just delete somebody's comment? If I deleted
yeah, it's a surplus gun.
did not mean to. Do you have one?
No, but I've seen them sell for between like $200 and $300 here. And they're pretty common. Like I think Classic had a whole batch of them come in, and places like that I've sold them over the years, and they're neat little guns. They look like a little Walther, Um, they're really neat guns.
I've seen them then, so I don't think I've. If I shot one, it had been a long time ago. So is it a new import or have they been imported for a while? Oh, I put 68.
Oh gosh, I think they were made all the way back in the 60s and 70s, and so I'm guessing they were probably imported in like the 80s and 90s mainly. But I've seen Classic just recently, a couple months ago, sell like a batch that they got in, so they're still being imported to this day. But I think they were real common for police and military and all sorts of like all sorts of stuff over across Europe. And
Looks like a Mac. Trigger guard comes around and disassemble it and stuff. It looks like a Mac. I'm just looking at pictures of it here. Super light Alloy frame. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm all about the little 380s, though. I mean, that was sort of a thing in Europe, right? I guess what we'd call a medium-sized frame with the 380s in it. It looks like it's a single stack, though. So I don't know. For something like that, I'm guessing the 63 means 1963.
Yeah, I'm
So-
pretty sure that's probably when the military adopted it because it was a military sidearm and a police sidearm first, I think. And
So
then,
then it would just be, is it, something that the magazines are, you're going to own two magazines in your whole life, or you're going to be able to get two magazines every time you go to a gun show to help offset price of a
oh
gun
yeah,
show?
yeah, you can get magazines everywhere.
Yeah, so then that kind of gun I'm all about. I mean, I'm cheap, so I would have rather got it back in the day when it was $75. So I'm too old to buy it. Yeah, because it's probably going to be a $600 gun at some point, right?
Like I said, I'm seeing them sell between 200 and 300, depending on condition and stuff, and grips and stuff like that. So, I definitely see them being.
Well, he's saying on here, I'm watching his Instagram, he's answering, so he says $40 mag. That
Oh, I swear they were about $20, but they might have gone up too. Like they've been around, they've been being imported. I know at least since the '90s, because that's when I first came across them.
Yeah, see, so now you're asking what we think about it. Guns and barbecue, feel free to throw in there. Foss, feel free. But for me, I mean, if you're talking like a gun to have as a historic thing, I would not want to buy something that's coming in from a big importer for full retail. I'd rather go to a gun show and buy an old one, because when I'm looking at here, I'll just start screen sharing so that you guys can both look at what I'm looking at. So when I'm looking at something like this one from FEG, Modern Firearms, and it's got the aluminum frame, is that from 1963 or is that just a 1963 model made recently? Like, I'm not buying that if it's a
No, I
40.
think they had aluminum frames. I want
Back
to
in
say
the
they
day.
all.
Because I'm looking at this one, it says a Hungarian Fumu FEG pistol. That looks like something that would have been Cold War, right? Now, something like this, I'll pay money for that and have an expensive mag. Who cares? Or like this one, maybe? No, that one says it's new. So if it's a historic one,
Did they have steel frames or were they always aluminum? I thought they were all aluminum.
well, maybe this just has a finish on an aluminum
Okay.
frame. But I'm just saying this one looks more like a military gun. This doesn't look like any kind of military gun I've ever seen. It's in the style of a military gun, but I've never seen a two-tone military gun. Have you?
No, you're right. So the real military ones are probably all parkerized or something, anodized.
Probably anodized, because this
Yeah.
is back in the day. So he's saying I bought it new at a gun show, no import markings for 300. Really wanted it though. So no import markings. That's good. So we're talking this style where it's two-tone. So it's like a modern version of it, or are we talking something like this, Cold War with no import markings? Because now that's where I'm all about that. For sure. But I don't know shit about these. So I don't know. Were these something that were like some reserve unit used them, or like the police used them and there's a ton of them, or is it like there was just a few? I don't know enough about
I
them.
thought there was a ton of them. I thought they were all over Europe.
Now this one is two-tone, but that for some reason looks military-ish to me, just because of it doesn't look like it's trying to be fancy or anything. Of course, this one does too. The
A
first
thought
one,
I had was if this is supposed to be similar to a PPK, like a knockoff, you might be able to look for PPK magazines, see if those fit.
right, and then maybe change like a hole or something, because if the tube is the same, then it probably.
Well, imagine like a Makarov and like a PPK had a baby. Like that's that gun, dude. Like for real.
Okay.
They basically copied probably mostly a Walther, but then it shoots the Makarov cartridge, the 9x18 Mac, right? And then it has a couple things kind of Mac-ish on it, but it's basically a PPK and Mac had a baby.
Okay. So then that aluminum frames were first, and they had the finish, and then the aluminum alloy frames are the ones that don't have a finish. So these are the more newer ones. These are the original ones. And I think I don't know how to scroll up. Let me try to scroll up.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I've never seen a steel framed one. That's what I was saying. I thought that they're always aluminum. Every one I've ever seen.
But I'm not
They're neat
sure.
little guns. They are. They're really neat little guns.
Oh yeah, so basically, it's not something I'm going to buy. We have a Mac that somebody bought. I think Joe bought it, and we've traded it back and forth about 100 times. He has it back again. I like the guns; they're like the AK of pistols and stuff. It's just that I'm not. It's just not my thing.
And they are well built. They really are. They're not junk. I would not say that's a junk pistol at all. I think that they're well built, and when you're paying $200 or $300 for this pistol, I think it would rival the quality of any $200 to $300 pistol produced today, if not surpass it.
Quality wise,
Quality.
like
I'm comparing it to $200 pistols, like maybe a certain like Tauruses or certain. I think that gun, you're getting an all metal gun, and everyone I've looked at's been pretty decent. They really have.
Well, I was just saying, like quality wise and like fit and finish, and then like durability and like ruggedness and everything. Like it's top notch. Like it's military, right? So I would give it. I'm assuming pretty high marks there. But then just because of all that, it has the balls, I guess, and the ability to be a good carry gun. I think I'd stop short of calling it a carry gun, is what I was going to say. And that's just because of its, again, you can't, unless you can somehow, if you don't have to worry about it, you can have like dozens of mags for it, then maybe, but it's just too unique. Like I'm not.
Well, and it's slim, but it's going to have some weight, so it's going to point and shoot well. And I could see people carrying it. To this day,
I would if I had to. I would not be comfortable if I had to, but it's not going to be like over a Glock or something that's decent, that's modern and works. But I could see it being.
If let's say you just turned 21 today, and you got your like you just got payday or something, and you got $200 to put on your pistol. That would not be a bad choice for a first pistol. I really wouldn't. Like you could do a lot worse for $200.
Oh, I'd buy that for just about anything else that would be around 200 for sure.
Or even 250 or something like that.
Even
I could easily see paying a decent money for that over something.
Even fancier used stuff in the 200 range, I would probably still go for something. Like he said, 300, but still, I'd still go for something like this that's solid.
Oh, yeah.
Plus, I just like those ones where you pull the trigger guard down. I like that design. It's the barrel sticks to the frame, so unlike a Browning design, it's just a little bit different. Gun to shoot, nice and solid and strong. And like I say, if it was $7 magazines, I'd be like, oh, then grab two of them and stock up. But $40 magazines, I'm way too cheap.
No, and I don't know about the whole 40 thing. That maybe that's I don't know, because I swear like Classic, when the last batch of these pistols they had in, I was looking at buying one because I want to say they were on sale for like $239 or something, right? And so I was looking at the extra mags, and I want to say the mags were like $20 a piece or $22 a piece. But that might have been on sale, or like, and there's probably different grades of mags, right? Like depending on how nice the mag is unused and stuff. So, or whether it's like a surplus mag. So I could see there being a wide range of prices just for mags on those.
So after this, talking about Glocks and 9mm, no. Then Solo was asking on the Instagram side, do you know about Ultra Stars? So I know about Ultra Throwing Stars, but Ultra Star, is that a star with some model of a star, or is it something else that? I'm trying to think of how many things I know that guns that are stars. Thinking of some sort of a double action. Nah, I don't think.
It was a star pistol called the Ultra Star, and it looks like it might have been maybe an attempt at a polymer framed star pistol. Is what it kind of looks like to me. Is like their attempt to go into polymer frames.
I'm sitting here trying to remember shit when I got the internet.
I'm seeing videos from it dating back in 2015, so looks like it might be something kind of newer. Like I've never seen one before. I've never heard about it. The videos are all in Portuguese or Spanish though that I'm finding on it. So that gun might not even be in imported here. I don't know.
So saying, yeah, that's it in 40. So you know what it looks like? You guys can see my screen now. It looks a lot like.
A baby eagle or something.
Oh no, it was gonna say the. So the guy that made Lorson made 2 attempts at polymer pistols. You know, the Ring of Fire, LA area. There was a guy from Cobra tried to make a polymer pistol in 45 ACP, I think, and it didn't work. And then the guy from Lorson tried twice, and one of his looks almost exactly like this. So I'm wondering, but you
If
know
they
what?
sold that design or patent.
No, because I'm guessing the guy from Lorson is more the kind of guy that would have copied off of somebody else. But I'm wondering if these guys didn't copy off. You know what this else? I was going to say this looks like a llama. Does this look like a polymer llama, or am I crazy? Anyway, I don't remember. These things all happened, and I can remember when all these things hit the gun shows. It was like reminding our business looking at 1911s and high powers and old-fashioned shit, and then all of a sudden, yeah, Glocks, and then the next minute, there's like these little baby Glock things that are plastic that are not the same plastic as a Glock. Like that might look plastic, but you know how people that are old and they make fun of Glocks? It's because of these guns that were made out of like different kind of plastic, and they would be brittle and they would snap and stuff. And these broke. Glocks, you know, are made out of actual whatever fiberglass impregnated glass, you know, polymer resin stuff. Like they don't break. These guns broke, and these got the bad reputation for being bad, you know, brittle plastic and stuff. But man, this one here really, the way that the light is hitting this one makes it look like a llama, I want to say, but it would be probably maybe related because it's all Spain, right? But maybe Lorson saw theirs and copied that or something. But it was also something about these trigger guards and the plastic triggers and stuff. They gave them this kind of a similar look. I don't know what it was back in the day. Like, however, they figured out how to leverage a trigger or something, but there's that characteristic like 80s look to the triggers back then. These are ribbed in polymers, so they're sturdy. Gets kind of a dull look. 95. But in 40, that's ballsy for that small of a frame and whatnot. Look how little that slide is even. So that's the slide is inside of the frame. It's captured inside the frame. Oh, you know what else this looks like? Was it like ASP or somebody made something that looked like this? Interstar? Intertech? Intertech made one that looked kind of like this. All right, well, we're down to 7 people. Well, we do have a couple of people chatting on the Instagram side. We've been going for almost 3 hours over here on the big chat. So he's saying, yeah, the CZ75 and how the slide rides. But I think one of the things too, when these things were being invented back in the 90s, people were still figuring out how to manipulate, how to fight, how to use guns, and lack of real estate on the moving part doesn't benefit you in a time of stress. So there's not much traction up there, and your slide or your selector and stuff, your safety up there, I should say, is on the slide, and you have to manipulate just that little tiny thing. That would have been hard to find. But yeah, I'm not sure. Definitely would be fun to shoot it in 40. I think I'd be scared to shoot it too hot anymore because that polymer can't last forever. I think I'd shoot 9mm out of it. So I'll end the Instagram side, but yeah, it's cool to hear from people that have been listening for a while. We do most of our stuff on Instagram now, so you're not really missing too much. We've been kicking butt on the websites, and then of course the YouTube every once in a while. No, I'm not looking for guns to shoot, but if I'm ever in your neck of the woods, let me know. We'll go shooting. So I'm going to end the Instagram side. Thanks everybody for joining us over there. That person was just saying they wanted to send me that gun. I was like, no, you don't have to send me that gun, but we go shooting. Did we get to go shooting, Dead Horse? We didn't get to go shooting. I wasn't there that long, I guess.
You were here like what, one day? So, or one
I
and
mean, I
a
was
half.
in your area for a little bit longer, but yeah, I was really only out there for one day. But next time I'll definitely be out for a bit because you definitely have places to shoot up there.
Yep.
Huh, this looks interesting. Would you eat a bowl? What the hell are these? I guess they're just ice cubes. Look like nah. All right, I'll close Instagram so I don't get too distracted with shit. And like I said, we've been going for 3 hours. The New York outcasts out there. That means Black Cat will be showing up here before too long, waking up on the East Coast. So, I don't know, anybody else have anything else before we wrap it up here?
Nope.
I'll add one thing. I'll go back to when we were talking about simulators. So there's a documentary in 1963 called, or no, 73 called Magnum Force, where a guy, walks down the street in this town and all these things pop up in windows and doorways and he shoots them. So, and that training's still going on to this day.
Oh man, what did I watch that was talking about the history of Hogan's Alleys? Because there's, the Hogan's Alley that's what you're talking about, right? Like the
Magnum Force with Clint
So he's-
Eastwood, where he walks down he's in the little shooting thing for the police.
yeah,
And all the
that's
little
called-
cardboard things pop up.
At least some people call it Hogan's Alley or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
a
that's
story that
FBI.
I think from New York or someplace. But anyway, so there is an origin to that. Like it came from someplace.
Yeah, and they still do it to this day, as far as I'm aware, all over, and have training like that with the same type of pop-up targets and windows and doorways and inside buildings and rooms and and like these shoot houses and these like little shoot streets and almost like small towns, right, to train in. And like that's the thing to this day. It's like nothing digital or fancy, and I think that's still an effective thing too. I think probably just as effective as like the digital stuff is.
Oh, please, way more so, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
I don't.
Like as far as time on and stuff, and how much you could possibly train, and like setting it up, and how much you could train in a day. That's where I see the digital thing having an advantage, right? Where you could just sit in a room like all day shooting and training and stuff. But on something like that, you'd have to go up and change targets and reset everything, and like there'd be, I think, it'd be a lot to running one of those places, right? Like doing that, like so I could see maybe doing that like once or twice a day.
Well, here's the thing. Anything by itself. Hey, barbecue, we're getting that feedback. You dropped out, and I had to put you back in, so it's doing that feedback thing. I think that neither one of them is like by themselves, right? Like you want to do probably the live and with an instructor, and then learn so that you know what to pay attention to, and then enforce those in practice with the video type of situation, or enhance
Oh yeah.
either side that way. But I was going to say, I haven't been to a lot. I've been in a lot of shoot houses, but I haven't had an opportunity to shoot in every one that I've ever been in, right? Like I've been in more than I've actually had a gun in. So the ones that I've had a gun in, it's crazy. Like I'm thinking of the one in Pahrump, front site. They've got a really elaborate facility out there. Right here, I'm online, right? I can just go to here. I don't know if Barbecue knows you dropped out, but you dropped out. So if you're still out there listening, feel free to jump back in. But I'm just going to go to on the map here. I'm going to jump up to front site real quick and then zoom in on the what do you call the thing? and you can probably see what I'm talking about, because I'm sure I can jump right into the shoot house, I bet. So if this is Vegas way over here, I'll flip back to the map for a second. This is Las Vegas, and if we zoom out, it's all on the tip of Nevada. You got Las Vegas, and then going towards California, you get to Pahrump. That's where Art Bell was from, and pretty much all the way to Pahrump, even though it doesn't look like it's all the way. It's pretty much all the way to Pahrump. You drive off on this little road, and then you finally get to Front Sight, which is, like I said, a pretty elaborate shooting facility. You come in off of this road, and you drive up past this area here with a big temporary Quonset hut type of building. These are all bathrooms and stuff. There's some bays over here, and this is a giant classroom. Like, these are vehicles, so you can tell how big this classroom is. And then there's a pro shop over here. All of these are bays and stuff. All of these are bays, but these are shoot houses, and this is a complete building shoot house with a walkway above it. Each of these bays are sectioned off into 360 shoot houses, which I guess they are 360. I think this is a concrete wall, but I don't think they really had you shooting on both sides. You could go in one alternating, but I don't think you went in and actually shot with people on both sides. But either way, you can see how many of these. I guess, is this as best I can get? I can't get any better, but I was hoping to be able to get maybe maybe I can go to this 3D view. 3D view can be kind of interesting sometimes. Not really. So you get the idea, though, that these are rooms. So anyway, when I went there for one of the classes, I went there one time. We went in and hit, maybe twice even, we went in and hit these things. And so, in other words, they're not even like whole buildings. There is one or two that are a whole building, but just in the things where it's more like a room or two and you're barely walking in a doorway or walking around a corner, you're really not doing a lot of action. And maybe I can get a picture off the internet of the kind of thing I'm trying to talk to you about. It's not like Front Sight shoot house. It's not like it's super elaborate, but you don't have to reset nothing. The targets flap back and forth. Here's a good picture of it. So the pictures are the targets. Can you tell from this picture? They're just not need to do that. The target is on a hinge right here, and he flips back and forth. And like this thing is like on a shutter. It's like if it was like the shutters for the window, like there'd be a hinge right here, and it would flip out of the way. So you might walk into this room, and then the instructor yanks on a cord, and then one of the targets flaps over. And then he pulls on another cord, and then another target flaps over. So the instructor who's with you is the one controlling the targets. And then maybe you got a tape or something, but you could whip a bunch of people through here. But what's better is if you, like, it might have three hinges. There might be one that flips here, one that flips up, and one that flips from the side. And it's sort of like what he decides to pull. Or maybe between runs, somebody goes in and changes which target is on which, so that it's a shoot or a no shoot, depends or something. So anyway, I was just going to say maybe there's a better picture. These things can be pretty crazy without being a super elaborate shoot house. But this kind of thing where there's an instructor who's there and he sees your reaction and how you draw and how your clothes and, the way you react, and if you do a scan after, if you're just oblivious, like that's the kind of stuff that I could see being really difficult with a webcam. And once you've got some of that, like feedback or like insight from a coach, then you go home and practice on the videos or practice with videos with other people, teach someone. That's the best way to learn, right? Take what you learn from this environment, take it home to the video environment, and maybe try teaching somebody there. So I think they're together. Oh, you're in here already.
Yeah, I definitely think that using both anything to your advantage, right? Like those laser training systems have become super popular. That Manus system, all sorts of home systems that have like cans that jump in the air when you shoot them, but it's just a laser beam you're shooting, and any of that, even just a plain old fashioned dry fire practice, I think's good stuff. Use it all.
Outcast is saying that last time I went, they gave me a Red Cross T-shirt and told me to go around back. What's he talking about? remember what I was talking about whenever you typed it in there. All right, well, I guess with that, we'll wrap it up. Unless anybody else has anything else they want to talk about. I don't have anything specific I need to do right now, so it's a little bit late. I'm debating if I should. I should. All right. Well, it's quiet, so I'm going to end it, I guess. So thanks everybody for joining us. We'll be back to pick you up later.
See everybody.